Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Back at Barrel House at Bridgestone Arena today. NHL Awards tonight. So we got the NHL Awards tonight. We've got, I forget exactly why we're here tomorrow, but we are here tomorrow, which we're excited about. And then we'll be here Wednesday for the draft. We'll be here Thursday for the draft. And then on Friday, we won't be here anymore. So it's a very, very exciting weekend. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Let's start with the big news. Speaking of the Predators, came across on Saturday morning. Ryan Johansson out. Off to Colorado he goes. The Predators acquire Alex Galchenyuk. They're not going to keep him, so they dumped Ryan Johansson to Colorado. They're taking on the salary, half of it, for the next 2 years. And then the deal's over, and the money's free, and he's gone, and moving on. And I saw that move, and I don't know about you guys, and I like Ryan Johansson a lot. We'll get to Ryan Johansson in a second. But I saw the move on Saturday morning, and I immediately thought, yes, I loved it. I immediately thought, yes. Oh, was I a happy camper? And I'm going to tell you why. You know, we used to have something in this country called the peaceful transfer of power, that when one president would come in, you know, the other president who was already there would be very, very nice to that president, but he knew, for the most part, that next president's policies were going to be different than his, especially if it's a different party. But because it's a peaceful transition of power, both men, since we've only had men as presidents, both men, for the most part, would say, okay, you know, here's what we're doing now, and then we know you're going to want to do this, and since you're going to want to do this, we may change it up a little bit. You know, Bill Clinton, for instance, was supposed to go to North Korea, but because George W. Bush asked him not to, he didn't. That's where we are right now in the Barry Trotz administration. The peaceful transition of power. But make no mistake about it, it is a new administration running the Nashville Predators. I was so giddy on Friday just because I heard Barry Trotz say on Chase's show that he wanted to take big swings, that he wanted to go for high-end players, that they were going to try to build with the draft. I got giddy when Barry Trotz came on the show after they hired Andrew Burnett, and he said, look, you got to be patient with him. It's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. And I was happy for all of that because the Trotz administration has come in, and they are righting the wrongs of the previous administration. Ryan Johansson's exile from the Predators, to me, is more about what it says about the mindset of the organization and where the organization is willing to go than it actually says about whether or not he would have helped this team as a third-line center, a fourth-line center, whether or not he'll be good in Colorado, you know, the difference in the $4 million, and could they have none of that. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what it symbolizes. The Trotz administration is righting the wrongs of the previous administration. I know everybody wants to win and everybody wants to be told their team is good and everybody wants to believe that their team has a chance. But even after that Avalanche series 2 years ago, I think Predator fans said, okay, enough's enough. I remember the Adam Vingan poll at the time that basically said more Predators fans were okay with tanking and having the number one overall pick, and boy, would it be nice if they had the number one overall pick this year, than they were about trying to run it back. But ever since the Predators won the President's Trophy in 2018, and at that point in time they did have a cup contender, ever since then it's always been about running it back, running it back, running it back. Even though it made no sense to after they lost the bubble series to Arizona in 2020. Made no sense. That was the time it was time to really start. Then when 2021 went down the crapper at the beginning of the year, that was the time to blow it up. But the previous administration was not willing to do that. Now, was the previous administration not willing to do that because they knew their time was limited? Were they not willing to do it because they knew that if they did it, losing would happen, and if losing happened, they'd be fired? I don't know. I can't tell you. That's their business. But it didn't happen at the deadline in 21 when it should have happened. It didn't happen in the deadline in 22. Now, at 22, they actually looked like an okay team to begin the year. But it didn't happen at that deadline. Instead, they traded a second-round pick for Jeremy Lozon, who, by the way, stinks. And that's a right that that's a wrong that Barry's going to have to right in this administration in a little bit. They kept going for it, kept going for it, kept going for it. They get smoked by the Avalanche. And everybody said, all right, blow it up. Blow it up. And the Predators said, no, trust us. Believe in us. Trust us. And at that point, we were done trusting them. At that point, that administration, I think the fans had decided that administration's policies were no longer going to produce what the fans wanted to see. In come the Trotz. I don't think think it would be a little out of the bag here to say that for about the last 4 or 5 years, I really wasn't on board with the previous administration's policies, if that makes any sense. The Poyle administration. I didn't agree with them. The Trotz administration is taking over, and bam, immediately the coach who never won anything, who everybody made excuses for all the time, out. In comes a good coach. The Trotz administration, Ryan Johansson, gone. How many years have we done this where it feels like the narrative is, well, if they can get Johansson and Duchesne to play better, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of seeing a couple of good games from those guys and thinking all of a sudden, you know what, if things go right for us, we could win the cup. I've been tired of that for 3 years. And so they could have kept Ryan Johansson, and they could have said, well, we need the forward depth, and he's a good guy to have around, and this, that, or the other. Because the previous administration didn't like retaining salary. This administration, they don't seem to care. The Matthias Ekholm trade, they retained a little bit of salary. This trade, they're retaining half the salary. That is a very un-Nashville Predator-like move. And my biggest fear when Barry took over, and I guess Barry hasn't technically taken over, but I mean, again, inauguration's 3 days away. But my biggest fear when Barry Trotz was hired was that because David Poyle's his guy and that they worked together and it was this great passing of the baton and they're two best buddies and they've known each other for 40 years, I was afraid that Barry Trotz was not going to be willing to kind of slash through some of the bad decisions made by the Poyle administration. I was worried that when he took the Oval Office on day one, he wasn't going to start writing executive orders to cancel out some of the ones that the Poyle administration made that I didn't like very much. And clearly I was wrong if I had any fear there, because Barry Trotz has come right in. I mean, he fired John Hines, and he could have kept John Hines. And I think, again, had Barry Trotz not been here, just the way the organization's been run over the years, I think they would have kept John Hines. But not this administration. Ryan Johansson, year after year after year, we've talked about if they can just get Johansson to play better, if they can just get him to be a little bit more consistent, if they can just not anymore. Not this administration. The distraction on the ice of, oh man, Johansson's making $8 million. If they could just, guys, 2 years ago, Seattle didn't want him. They could have taken him. They were like, nah, we don't want that. There wasn't much of a market out there. But now that chapter's over. And it's going to take a lot of time for the Trotz administration to be able to right all of the wrongs that the last administration has made over the last couple of years. But he's making the right decisions now. And I like it. Now, I'm going to talk about Ryan Johansson for a second because I am in favor of this move. I think it is a good move for the organization. I try to go out of my way in this job not to be friends with the players or the coaches or things like that, because I always felt like if I were to be friends with the players or the coaches or things like that, then I wouldn't be able to do my job. That's why I think I have good relationships with coaches after they leave here or things like that. But there is a little bit of an adversarial relationship. And I don't, go up to people or anything, or, I don't go out of my way to, make somebody uncomfortable. But I just know what my job is. And if I want to do my job fairly, I don't feel like I can be friends with the players or the coaches or things like that. And I say this because I wouldn't consider myself a friend with Ryan Johansson. But I do like Ryan Johansson. I'd say I know him well enough. And I've criticized Johansson's play. I've listened to your criticisms of Johansson's play. But I'll say this, for the last year, Johansson laid it all out on the line. That after the 2021 season, when he got put on that expansion list for Seattle, he laid it all out there in 22. And he laid it all out there last year until he got hurt. And I know this because I saw it. Because he worked out at my gym with one of the best trainers maybe in the country in Justin Todd, and I saw the work that he put in. And it was never more, again, I'm not trying to break beers with the guy or anything like that, but it was always, a pound, a hay, or whatever. But I saw the work that he put in. And I just wish that maybe in the younger part of his career, he could have had that work ethic or focus, but the production was what it was. At times, some of the most memorable moments and biggest goals in team history, the St. Louis series in 2017, the Winnipeg series in 2018. But he was a good Predator. And I think that, again, not that I know him all that well or anything like that, but I think he's a good guy. And so I just feel the need to say, well, today on the program, we're going to sit here and talk about how, again, I agree with this move, and I think it was the right move. Ryan Johansson was a good man. And I'm not going to sit there and cry over it or say that, oh, Colorado's getting a great one or anything like that. I mean, I'm not sure that there's really a whole lot left in the tank there. But I never, again, divulged anything I shouldn't have or said anything. I just saw how hard he worked last year, and I know how much effort he put into it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. The Trotz administration, boom, out goes the coach. Boom, out goes Ryan Johansson. What about the goalie? Pierre Lebrun has the latest. We'll get to that next. And why I don't think Barry Trotz tried to do this, but if he did try to do it, he did a masterful job. We'll explain what that is, and we'll do that next. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. By the way, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. And our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. Hey, be sure to come out to the Nashville Predators 25th anniversary block party presented by Tractor Supply. For 85 years, Tractor Supply has helped customers with the know-how and products you need at everyday low prices. Visit TractorSupply.com to find a location near you. And today through Wednesday, Music City welcomes a full week of events featuring the NHL Awards, the 25th anniversary concert, and draft. Fans can enjoy this free party featuring live music, red carpet walks, games, alumni autographs, food trucks, activations, and more. Don't miss this incredible week of events starting today as the Predators celebrate 25 years. More information, NashvillePredators.com.
The Titans offseason program has come to an end. What other roster tweaks can GM Rand Carthon and head coach Mike Vrabel make before training camp?
Not just taking a guy to fill a need. We want to get the right people.
Well, we'll continue to kind of look through where we're at.
Talking Titans? Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, their savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Or go online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers, they'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
Many jobs, sports, recreational activities, getting older, or having arthritis in your knees increases your chances of having knee problems. Whether you're an active senior or a high school athlete with knee problems or injuries, the world-class doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can treat your knee pain or injuries. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is conveniently located where you work and live. Visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I know basically Barry Trotz isn't saying to his old boss, David Poile, contract sucked, but that's kind of what he's saying. You know, Ryan Johansson, David Poile did not sign a lot of bad contracts. I mean, David was pretty astute in that regard. He didn't make a lot of trades. Then he kind of made a bit of a flurry in that, but he generally was pretty good about contracts. And this was one that, like I said, Barry Trotz, just the message there that, okay, if we're going to pay $8 million, we got to get more back than we're getting from Ryan Johansson. So we're going to move on right now, even though we're going to take a hit of $4 million the next 2 seasons. But again, the goaltending thing just adds to that kind of, if there's any kind of validity to it as well.
There you go. That was Gord Stellick this morning, former NHL general manager, now on NHL radio on Sirius XM. And I do love it because deep down inside, you know it's true. Barry Trotz is not going to say to David Poile, yo, man, some of these contracts suck. But the truth is some of those contracts suck. And Johansson's was one of the ones that sucked, and now it's over. But he brought up the speculation on UC Saros, which we've talked about at length. And I have a thesis statement as to what I believe Barry Trotz's thoughts are, or his, I want to say motive, but I think I've got a thesis statement as to where the Predators reside when it comes to Saros. But what he said to Pierre LeBrun, who I believe is in town right now, what he said to Pierre LeBrun in The Athletic is, quote, I've talked to Saros. I've got to listen on everything, Trotz said. What I have to do is improve our hockey club, so I have to listen to everything. My goal is to keep your game changers, your Saroses, your Yosis, and your Forsbergs. And you know those are game changers. Every team wants to keep 3 or 4 guys, and you want to build around them. We've got a lot of young kids coming. I just got to make sure I leave the roster holes available to them. And so a lot of people interpreted that, including Robbie and Joe this morning. A lot of people heard that, and they thought, well, that just means that they're definitely not trading Saros. I think that may be true. I mean, I'm going to take Barry at his word because I think Barry Trotz has been incredibly transparent about what the organization wants to do, why they want to do things, how they plan to operate, so on and so forth. But if Barry Trotz was looking to raise the price on UC Saros, he just did it right there with what he said to Pierre. You know, I remember a couple years ago, and this is why you can't always take everything at face value, but I asked the Titans right before the draft if they were going to trade A.J. Brown. And John Robinson said he did not foresee that happening. Well, obviously he did because he traded him. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think Barry Trotz is an incredibly transparent guy. And when Barry says over and over again, I have to listen to everything with Pierre, I don't think there's a second meaning in that. I don't think that we have to go all law and order to figure out what Barry Trotz means by that. They're not veiled shots. I think he's pretty direct. But if trading Saros is on the menu, then Barry just upped the price. Because what Barry is saying is, I'll listen to anything about anybody, but I don't plan on trading UC Saros. And Barry Trotz doesn't have to do it. And that's what takes me to the thesis. This is what I believe the Predators' mentality is when it comes to should they trade the goalie, should they not trade the goalie. And I think this is going to be hard for everybody to process because everybody wants to know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen. The thesis is this. UC Saros is the goalie of my team. But if you blow me away with either a young big boy forward or the path to a young big boy forward, I'm in. If not, he's the goalie. That's the plan. And I like it. I don't understand why the Predators would have to decide today, we're not moving the goalie under any circumstances, no way, no how, or we're absolutely going to move the goalie. Both stances, in my opinion, would be stupid. The stance of we're absolutely, positively not giving the goalie away no matter what is dumb because if somebody offers you a ridiculous package, you have to take it. Goalie is just not that valuable of a position in today's NHL. So if somebody calls you up and they offer you Connor McDavid, then you have to make the trade. They're not going to, but if they do, and we saw DeAndre Hopkins traded from the Texans for a ham sandwich, so anything's possible. But if you want to get in the mix, there may be some players that come out here in the next couple days in Nashville that want out or want a deal or want a something, and maybe one of those guys you'll really like. And if that's the case and it's going to take you Saros to get him, now we're talking. So it would be stupid to say we're absolutely not trading the goalie. Or to believe that you're absolutely not trading the goalie, I think would be stupid. It would also be stupid to say that you're absolutely going to trade him, because then you're not going to get the full value. And so I think the Predators, I wouldn't say they're in a good spot, because I feel like the only reason they're in this spot is because they used the 11th overall pick a couple years ago on a goalie, and they didn't need to use the 11th overall pick on a goalie, and they could have taken a player who could be in their lineup now at a more important premium-ish position. So can't cry over spilt milk. And again, they are righting a lot of the wrongs of the Poyle administration as we are in the new era of the Nashville Predators. But when it comes to the goalie, I don't see why they have to decide anything. I don't understand why they would have to say, okay, fine, we're not going to trade him. Okay, yeah, we're absolutely going to trade him. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, but at the end of the day, why do I have to make a decision? And I haven't made a decision. I was listening on my drive in to Caroline and Willie and Derek, and they were talking about Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis about who the backup's going to be. And I'm thinking there, and the point I think Caroline made, which I think is a fair point, you don't have to make that decision today. Why do I have to make the decision of, I'm going to trade Saros, or I'm absolutely positively not going to sign or trade Saros? Blow me away. But now that I've indicated to Pierre that I'm not really all that interested in dealing the goalie, if you're going to call me, you're going to have to knock my socks off. That's why I say about my house all the time. I know what Redfin and Zillow say my house is worth. Add a couple $100,000 on that, and the house is yours. If not, I'm not looking to move. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. And our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, do you think Barry Trotz would have signed Forsberg to his contract if we had been in the Trotz administration? I don't know. But I'm going to guess it would not have gone the way that it went with the current previous transitioning administration. And I have to be completely blunt with you. As far as the leverage play was concerned, I thought that was one of the poorest, stupidest things I've ever seen. Just the process of it. I mean, ultimately, the money for Forsberg and the years, a little longer than I would have liked, a little too much money, and I don't like the full no move, and I don't think he's like a big boy forward or anything like that. When he tells Pierre Forsberg's a game changer, I'm not sure I completely agree with that. But, I mean, Barry knows he's not going to move him, so I get it. But what I don't like is I don't like the fact that they went into training camp without a deal. And Philip Forsberg laid his cards on the table when he showed up to camp. He said, I'm going to play out my contract. Isn't that the point of signing a contract and see where it goes? Well, that's nice, but if you want to stay here, you better get to the bargaining table or else. But the problem is that the Predators, the previous administration, they were never willing to exert the or else, which was you either do this or you're out of here. That's how good deals work, is you sit down with Forsberg, you say, all right, we want to sign you. 6 years, you're making, 6 years, 36 is what you had last time. You're making 6 a year. How about 6 years at 8? Oh, no, we want 8 years at 8.5, or we'll play out the season. Well, that's fine, because I'm about to pick up the phone. The LA Kings are on line 1. Would you like to go there? And if he says yes, then, I would have been willing to make the move. Then when they got to the trade deadline, I figured they have to get the deal done now. And they didn't. They didn't get it done, and at that point, they lost all their leverage. So to answer your question, the way that I have seen the Trotz administration operate the last couple of months, no. I don't think that the Forsberg contract would have played out the way that it did. Do I think that Forsberg would still be on the team, or that Barry would be paying him as much money, or Barry would have given him the no movement clause? That I can't answer. But as far as the way the contract went down, where the Predators gave away all of their leverage and got bent over by Forsberg, no, I don't think that would have happened under the Trotz administration from what I've seen so far. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of the Trotz administration. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. There's a lot of talk about what may happen as far as Ryan Johansson in Colorado is concerned. I got my thoughts on that, then we're right back to your phone. Stillman and Company, live from Bridgestone Arena. Again, we are here. The NHL awards are tonight. That's right. And, of course, they've got tomorrow. Tomorrow, I've been told, is the 25th anniversary party. It's basically like Preds Day at the NHL draft. Apparently, there's going to be all kinds of stuff on the concourse. There's going to be autographs that you can get from former players, and they're going to have a passport, and you can get it stamped, and that's just what they all told me about 20 minutes ago. So I am kind of excited about that. And coming up on Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, we'll be right here, and we'll hand it right off to Draft Night in Smashville. Robbie Stanley, Willie Donick, Max Hurst, Chase McCabe, live from Bridgestone Arena for the draft. And our draft coverage is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429, Electronic Express, who, by the way, tried to call me this segment. They're delivering my new TV tomorrow, which I'm excited about. Electronic Express and Oil Fire Whiskey.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I don't mind going to another team. You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming, welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Join Moving Forward and the Nashville Scene Tuesday, July 11th from 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening at Meharry Medical College for a mayoral forum to kick off early voting. Hear Nashville mayoral candidates' plans for improving the rising transportation issues in Nashville, Davidson County. Visit MovingForwardMIDTN.com today. That's MovingForwardMIDTN.com to register for free.
This is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's Best Sports Talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Just with the, I don't think a lot of us had the opportunity to get together with that on Saturday. Obviously, I'd like to thank Ryan for, his years of contribution and his involvement in the community from a standpoint of making, going on the run in 2017 to, being a real solid leader for us and also a real contributor in the community. You're not going to find a better person than Ryan, and I just want to thank him for that. And the decision was made purely on a window that we really created at the trading deadline of going in a sort of a little bit different path, and felt that with Ryan's time remaining that he was going to miss a little bit of that window. So opportunity to allow him to further his path with the Colorado Avalanche. They're a good hockey team, a contender, and I'm wishing Ryan the best in his future. And I'm pretty sure that Ron will be back here in Smashville as a resident when he's done.
If David Poile and Barry Trotz had a talk-off, I don't know who would win. I mean, I think between those two, how long was that cut, Ian?
1:08.
Not bad. Poile probably would beat Trotz in a talk-off.
I don't know, man.
To guess.
I think Trotz might win. It'd be close, but I might give the slight edge to Trotz.
When Trotz got hired, he came on the show. He sat down here, and I told him straight up, I was like, hey, man, you're a little long-winded. So if I cut you off a little bit, I'm not being rude. I'm just telling you, we only have X amount of time here. And we got a lot of different things to talk about. And Barry said to me, he was like, no, I got it. I totally understand. Ryan Johansson's going to the Avalanche. There's one thing that I kept hearing as soon as I heard the news on Saturday. I was at the gym, and I immediately flipped on NHL radio because I figured they would talk about it since there wasn't a whole lot of news up until that point, and they were talking about it. And everything I kept hearing was, this is a good move for the Preds. This is a good move for Johansson. This is a good move. It's a good move. It's the right time. It's a good move. It's blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of talk, as you would assume, about the Avalanche because the Predators are not the sexy team. They didn't win the cup last season. So a lot of talk about how he fits in behind McKinnon, and then JT Comfort's a free agent, and that this is a great addition at $4 million for them to pick up Johansson. And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, I hope for the best with Ryan Johansson. I do. I think Ryan Johansson's a good man. And so I'm rooting for him. I know some of you guys, one way or another feel a certain way. I can't tell you how to feel. I'm just telling you that for me, I hope he does well. I'm not necessarily sure I expect him to do well. I keep hearing a lot of, this is a good move that, 2 years ago he had 60-something points. And if they can get him back to that level, this will be a good move, and this will be, nah. I'm not a huge fan of Johansson. He's got a nice body in terms of, nice size. You could stick him in front of the net a little bit. But he's not particularly tough. He's not a great two-way player. He's not very fast. Doesn't score a lot of goals. Not an elite passer. There's really nothing that great that he does. He just kind of exists. And so I'm not banking on him being a great addition for the Avalanche, though I don't know them that well, and I'm not sure I care that much. But regardless of what he does for Colorado, he had to go from here. Like, they needed to move on. And I know Barry will talk about the fact that he brought up the window and the fact that, Ryan's got 2 years left and maybe those 2 years probably aren't going to be maximized here. But he's not going to get rid of Ryan McDonough. And Ryan McDonough is in a similar boat in terms of how much longer is Ryan McDonough going to be a capable NHL defenseman on your top two pairs. Probably next year, and then after that, he probably needs to go to the grandpa chair on the third pair. But Barry's not getting rid of him. They needed to get rid of Johansson because it's just time to move on. Now, I always hear people when it comes to business decisions and somebody gets fired, and a lot of the time when there's nothing nice to say, somebody gets fired and they ask, well, why did so-and-so get let go? And the response will be, it was just time to move on. It was just time to move on. And that's this case. It was just time. It was time for a change of scenery. Johansson's going to play on a team that's actually going to be good. There will be expectations, and there will be a certain level of accountability that he'll have to meet. And I think he will, but he'll have to meet it. And I think it's good here because I think it's just been enough. Enough of the same guys on the power play. Enough of the same guys every year. If he plays well, it's a new era. And so instead of putting Ryan Johansson out there and cutting his ice time and hoping that he'll play hard or hoping that he'll find a way to actually put the puck in the net or get to the dirty, instead of trying to do that or trying to get Andrew Burnett to do that, and of course the complaining about Ryan Johansson making $8 million, which has been something that's been going on for around here for the last 4 years, it was just time to move on. And your options in terms of moving him on or moving on from him were to either buy him out, in which you would have had to pay him for the next 4 years, as opposed to pay him for the next 2 years, or trade him for practically nothing and retain salary. And they chose the latter. So as far as Alex texts into the text line and says, I'm going to say right now I'm not happy, Jared. Colorado is paying him $4 million to play for him, and we're paying him $4 million to not play for us. Right. But you don't need Ryan Johansson. It's just that ship sailed. Again, like I said, there's a lot of talk. I even saw Adam Vingan tweet this, and I was a little surprised. I saw Adam Vingan tweet that, this would be a good bet for Colorado for $4 million for Johansson. And I was like, is it? I mean, I'm not jumping for joy if I'm an Avalanche fan because you got Ryan Johansson. I don't think he stinks, but yeah, it was time to move on. It was time. Texter into the text line says, Jared, I know you're not going to like this, but I wish DeAndre Hopkins announced what team he would sign with today so you would be done talking about the Predators. LOL. My response to that is, hey, dude, if DeAndre Hopkins, I am worried about Wednesday because I told Chase on Wednesday, it's the NHL draft, or it's here at Bridgestone Arena. There's all these people. I said, let's load it up like a Radio Row show at the Super Bowl. Let's load it up like an SEC Media Day. I know that there's a pretty good chance Andrew Burnett's going to be on the show that day. I said, just load it up. Wall to wall on the draft to get you set for that night. Watch DeAndre sign that day. Watch DeAndre sign on Wednesday, in which the NHL draft taking place here. And I do have an NHL draft thought that I'll get to in just a second. 615-737-1025. Texter into the text line says, what do you make of the rumors Trotz is making a serious push to get in the top 5 Wednesday? What's the rumor? I mean, I don't think there's a rumor Barry Trotz is trying to get into the top 5. I think it's a fact that Barry Trotz tried to get into the top 5 and that Barry Trotz couldn't get into the top 5, or at least that Barry Trotz tried to get into the top 4 and that Barry Trotz couldn't get into the top 4. And you want to know how I know that that's not a rumor and that Barry Trotz actually tried to do that? Because Barry Trotz told everybody that. Barry Trotz tried to get in the top 4. I do think the reason he's trying to get into the top 4 is apparently there's this Russian kid that has all kinds of question marks around him. And I was listening to Elliott talk about it, and I was listening to them talk about it on NHL radio this weekend. Ian, what's the kid's name? The Russian kid?
I don't know off the top of my head. I have to double check.
Something like that. Eminem. That's what we'll call him because his initials are MM. So apparently he's like a 17-year-old Russian. He signed a 3-year deal to play in Russia, but there's a feeling that he may be able to get out of that. There's also a feeling that he may not be able to get out of that. We don't know. They say he's got second overall pick talent. That as far as the talent is concerned with this Russian kid, that Bedard would be number 1 and he'd be number 2.
Michkov.
Mikhail Michkov?
It's not Mikhail, but it's Matvey Michkov.
Whatever. Him. Eminem. And so they said that he's got number 2 talent. That Bedard's got the most talent, he's got number 2. But they don't know that if you draft him, does he have to stay in Russia for 3 years? They don't know anything about this kid, like his personality or anything like that, because he has, until now, not been willing to meet with teams. And Russia, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the geopolitical affairs, but there's a lot of question marks surrounding Russia right now. I think Barry's trying to get him. When I hear Barry talk about big swings and Barry's trying to get into the top 4, I think Barry's trying to get him. Now, he may be gone at number 3. I don't know. It sounds like the 1-2 picks are pretty much locked. But, I mean, Barry may be trying. I think Barry's trying to get that kid. And I think that part of it is Barry's got a relationship with Ovechkin. And I wonder if Barry would leverage his relationship with Ovechkin to try to, warm this kid up or something like that. Or if Barry just thinks the talent is off the charts and he's promised big swings. So when he promises big swings, it's like, okay, well, I promised big swings and now here you go. That's the best I can come up with on that. But as far as it being a rumor, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's not a rumor. He told Chase. He said to Chase on Friday, I tried to get into the top 4 and nobody wanted to trade with me. So that's not a rumor. That is the truth. He said it. They are trying it. It wouldn't surprise me if they did make a move to get up. Now, they're probably not going to get up that high, but it wouldn't surprise me if they made a move. I hear that 8 is like at the bare minimum. The kid from Russia has gone by 8.
7 and 8. That's what they're saying, yeah.
I think Washington picks 8th.
Philly and Washington, respectively, 7, 8. Yep.
And I think it's like if Washington gets there, they've already got Ovechkin. Like, they're going to take him. And so I could see Barry trying to get ahead of that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get to some more of your phones. Plus, there is a little another element about this week as far as the draft's concerned that, I mean, I think it may be a little different than other drafts from this sense. We'll get to that. I'll explain how. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in on the program. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I do not think that you will see the Hiller logo dead center on the ice at Bridgestone Arena on Wednesday because there won't be any ice. But know that Hiller is a proud supporter of the Nashville Predators. And their Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down because you do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems, or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month, or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heatwave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee. And again, I know this because I use Hiller at my home. Hiller offers real-time online booking. Select the appointment time that works for you and get an instant confirmation. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporter of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Whether it's college football,
Players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia.
Or the NFL.
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman and Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee has uncovered the blueprint for youth success by ensuring your youth are 100% ready for their great futures. It is not enough to just get a young person through club doors. Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee wants to make sure their time in their club will leave a lasting impact on their success in life. At BGCMT, we focus on 5 areas of development that have a profound impact on a youth's ability to become a productive, caring member of their community and ensure their great future is within reach. To learn how to help build great futures, visit bgcmt.org.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud 7th man since the beginning. Go Preds!
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
So, you've heard of Oil Fire Whiskey, the whiskey that women love. Smooth and seductive. What's the taste? Oatmeal cookie or caramel covered apple? You decide. You will like it. She will love it.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The news out of Nashville is how upfront Erik Karlsson has been the last couple of days about wanting to get traded. Mm-hmm. He sort of, suggested he'd be open to it, he could listen, but, the last couple of days he has come out and said, I want to go play for a winner. I wish I was 10 years younger and it could be in San Jose, but it's not going to be in San Jose. I'm too old, they're too far away, so we are efforting to try to find a good spot for me to go to as soon as possible. As soon as tomorrow would be preferable for him. So watch Erik Karlsson if there's going to be a market for him this summer.
There you go. That was NHL Radio today. And they were talking about the Erik Karlsson moves and Alex DeBrincat moves and all these moves that could be made this week here at the draft. I mean, everybody's in town right now. And so all the coaches, all the GMs, all the scouts, all the everybody, they're all coming. Like, this isn't the NFL draft where everybody sits at their home base and goes from there. At the NHL draft, everybody comes. Everybody is on the floor operating during the draft. And that's where a lot of big moves get made. Now, the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of teams not make moves or not big names get traded at the draft. But you heard the talk about Erik Karlsson right there. I think he's going to win the Norris Trophy tonight. Ian, just the sound of it, and I don't keep up with all these other teams, but I think we could see some huge moves over the next couple of days. And some of that might be because this draft is supposedly so good that I think teams will sell players in order to either get draft picks or to move up in the draft in order to take better players.
And not only that, but to move salary cap space. We've seen it with the Preds, and we've already seen it earlier this hour with Boston trading Taylor Hall to Chicago.
You're right. Nick did text me about that. Boy, Taylor Hall, for a guy that, won a Hart Trophy, he's been on a lot of freaking teams.
So that was a strictly salary cap space dump for Boston. Gives them $6 million. And so there's just not a lot of options for people to make money. So you've seen DeBrincat. He's kind of one that's out of Ottawa. We've talked about him for a couple of weeks now. All the stuff that's going on in Winnipeg with Pierre-Luc Dubois, maybe Connor Hellebuck also could be on the move. There's a lot of talk about some offer sheets for some people, which I don't think will happen, but you can never rule them out completely. So I do think we just mentioned the Karlsson situation. And, yeah, I even heard, I want to say Torrey Krug is waiving his no-trade clause.
Oh, he decided to waive it. Last I saw, he didn't want to waive it.
Okay, well, so back and forth, so we never know. So that could be an option. So I do think there's going to be some movement, yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes peeled on that. Now, how active will the Predators be in all of that? I don't know. They made a trade the other day. Barry says they're going to take big swings. I think if the Predators are making a big move this week, it's not going to be for one of these name players. It's not going to be for Karlsson. It's not going to be for DeBrincat. It's not going to be for, like a Taylor Hall type. I don't think it'll be that. I think the moves the Predators are going to make are either dumping contracts they don't like, taking on bad contracts that other teams don't like because, as Ian said, cap space seems like it's going to be a premium. And so maybe the Predators can get some more picks if they decide to do that. And moving up in the draft. Those are the big moves I think the Predators might make. I don't think they're probably going after a quote-unquote name-type player. I can see them practicing for the NHL awards, and I see what they're doing. I can't give it away, but fascinating. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025 here on the program. Texter into the text line says, how does the Predators trying to move up for a player in the draft compare to the Titans? The Predators have made it known, and the Titans had loose lips that let it be known. How do the two differ? I would say this. I think that it's actually very similar to a sentiment that I heard a lot of people talk about when it involved next year, which was the idea of tank this season if you're the Titans to get Caleb Williams. And I said, you're not going to be bad enough. With Vrabel as the coach and Tannehill as the quarterback, you're not going to be bad enough to get Caleb Williams. And so if you don't get the number one pick in next year's draft, you can't trade up from 13 to get to number one. Because the teams that have those picks, they'll trade you the number one pick if it's a year like this year, where Chicago thinks there's not that big of a difference between Justin Fields and Bryce Young. So they'll trade that pick away. If Andrew Luck was on the board, they would take Andrew Luck and they would trade Justin Fields away. And so next year, with Caleb Williams, if a team that has a quarterback like Houston ends up with that pick, I mean, most teams don't trade that pick. They take the generational player. That's this year's draft. I mean, David Poyle said, Ian, if you can cue this up, David Poyle was talking about how good the draft was. And I know I don't totally agree with everything that David Poyle said over the years and certainly lately, but David's been doing this for a long time. Listen to how good David Poyle thinks this draft's going to be.
Yeah, this is one of the best drafts, I think, in history. I really believe that. Again, if you harken back to 2003 when we had the first draft here in Nashville, and if you look back at the quality of players that were taken in that draft, and including and specifically the players that we got in that draft, I mean, when I go to bed at night and say a little prayer, I'm sort of thinking the same thing. If we could, 15 and 24 for starters, if we could hit on two foundation type of players, that's a lot to ask. But we talk upstairs about, well, do you want to? If it's not quality, we'll trade out of this round or this pick. And at the moment, our scouts want none of that. So we feel really good. I mean, the top rounds, the top three rounds, where we've got 2, 4, 7, 6 or 7 picks. I mean, I think we're in really good shape. And as we say, you never know whether they're going to trade out or trade up or what have you, but we got the ammunition to do it either way.
Except that when these players are all-time greats, teams don't trade those picks. You could have offered the Indianapolis Colts anything to move to number 1 the year that they had Andrew Luck. They wouldn't have done it. So when that pick is there, normally teams don't trade that pick. Because the Baltimore Colts did that, and they learned their lesson when they traded away John Elway. 615-737-1025. Texter says, Trotz is exactly, in all caps, what I want from a Predators general manager. It is exciting to hear him and the coach talk and see the moves they're making. Let me agree with this sentiment, but the real bread and butter of whether or not Barry Trotz is going to be a good general manager will be decided on Wednesday. Not that we will know on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or anything like that, but if Barry Trotz can draft high-end players, big boy forwards, game changers, and get this team back in contention, then I agree. I do have faith that Barry Trotz can do it. And I'm not a blind faith guy. I was a huge Barry Trotz fan when he was the coach here. But I wasn't on the radio. I was a fan. And so I didn't get all in my feels when they hired Barry Trotz to be GM because I knew there was a job to do. So I'm looking forward at what Barry Trotz is going to do. And I don't get into the whole sentimental value of, well, he was our first coach and we love him and he's one of us. I don't get into that. But what I will say is all the big moves, all the things that I think people, for the most part, would have been too afraid to do, he hasn't been afraid to do. He wasn't afraid to fire the coach. He was not worried at all about firing John Hines when a bunch of you boo-hooers said they had to keep him. And then he moves Joe Hansen. And he doesn't even think twice about it. It's great. It's great. So it's a good start. But then, can he draft the players? And he's talked a lot about, leaning on the scouts. And the one thing I will say to Barry Trotz, and I'd say this to his face if he was right here, the scouts may be evaluated by these picks by you, but you're the one making them. So these picks are on you. And the development's on you, and it all buck stops with you. But I do like the direction and what I'm hearing from Barry, what I'm seeing from Barry, and I'm a huge Andrew Burnett guy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Another not flattering but expected ranking for the Titans. And I just don't know if the Titans believe what everybody else sees. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025, 1025-1063 The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robbie and Rex Road, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco. president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The NHL draft begins on Wednesday, but incoming Nashville Predators GM Barry Trotz has already began making some roster moves. The team announced over the weekend that forward Ryan Johansson was traded to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for forward Alex Galchenyuk. Nashville will retain 4 of the $8 million salary for the next 2 years for Johansson. Trotz spoke about the move earlier today.
You're not going to find a better person than Ryan, and I just want to thank him for that. And the decision was made purely on a window that we really created at the trading deadline of going in a sort of a little bit different path, and felt that with Ryan's time remaining that he was going to miss a little bit of that window. So
the Preds also announced development camp today with the date set for July 1st through the 6th. In other NHL news, the Boston Bruins have traded forward Taylor Hall to the Chicago Blackhawks. And college baseball will crown a champion tonight in Game 3 between LSU and Florida. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock on ESPN. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air. Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Bridgestone Arena. Tonight, the NHL Awards. Tomorrow, the 25th anniversary party. Wednesday, the draft. Thursday, the draft. Friday, TGIF. We won't be at Bridgestone Arena then, but TGIF on Friday. So, this morning I woke up, ESPN.com. They had a big football article up, which I was a little surprised. But I clicked it. It was ranking the skill position players for all 32 teams. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a doozy for the Titans. And so Bill Barnwell wrote it, which doesn't mean it's necessarily Bill's list. Bill's a big analytics guy, but we will refer to this as Bill Barnwell's list of the rankings of the teams. And here are the ground rules that he used for formulating the rankings. Number one, this is only about on-field performance for the 2023 season. While I might bring up contractual information or where a player was drafted, the only factors that matter are how would he project to perform this season alongside his current teammates. Bingo. Obviously, Barnwell says, I'll use players' recent performance to help gauge how they would do independent of their surroundings, but it's an inexact science. Injury history and suspensions matter. For players who are healing from injuries that are expected to impact the team heading into the season, such as Breece Hall or Zach Ertz, I tried to factor that into reports. Wide receivers are weighted more heavily than running backs or tight ends. The focus is on elite players and the team's top 5 contributors. So then they have the rankings. And I knew I wasn't going to have to go very far down on this list. 32, Houston, which, well, they have Robert Woods. 31, Carolina, which should be a little surprising, but remember, Carolina did trade DJ Moore in order to draft Bryce Young. They decided, we'll do whatever it takes to get the quarterback and then go from there. They did sign Adam Thielen on their team, and they did sign DJ Chark, and they drafted Jonathan Mingo, which is a whole hell of a lot more than you did, but they don't have Derrick Henry, so they are sitting there at 31. Boy, talk about it. McCaffrey and DJ Moore in the same year, that'll shoot you down the rankings. Arizona is 30. They're tanking this year. 29, the Tennessee Titans. Bill Barnwell writes, is any team thinner at the skill position spots than Tennessee? Its second best wide receiver is Nick Westbrook-Akina, who ranked 86th out of 97 wideouts in yards per route run a year ago. Boy, I want to know, if he's 87th, I want to know who's 88 through 97. The Titans' third wideout is Kyle Phillips, a fifth-round pick who had 8 catches last season. Thank God. Nobody here locally will ever talk about the fact that Kyle Phillips didn't do anything last year. It's all, well, he showed in training camp that he caught 8 passes last year. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. A fifth-round pick, their second tight end is Trevon Wesco, or fifth-round rookie Josh Wiley, and their primary backup running back is rookie Tajay Spears, who is 5'9" and reportedly might be missing an ACL in one of his knees. These guys are going to need to play, in some cases, regularly in 2023. That would be fine maybe if the Titans had prime Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Corey Davis as their big three. We're not there. Henry stayed healthy last season but continued to shed efficiency after generating 685 rushing yards over expected between 2019 and 2020. He only mustered 114 over the past 2 seasons combined. By the way, I do want to touch on that one in a second. He also fumbled 6 times. Henry set career highs as a receiver, which helps his case, but it's more likely that 2023 reveals the good player from 21 and 22 as opposed to the offensive player of the year candidate from the prior 2 campaigns, just given his career path, workload, and age. I really do, by the way, take umbrage with that, only because I think when we factor in Derrick Henry's lack of efficiency last year, we're not factoring in that the offensive line was atrocious. And so I know it's easy to say, like, oh, well, Derrick's slowing down, but there's nobody there to throw the football to it or to catch the football. There's nobody there to block for him, and for a handful of games, Tannehill was out. The receiving game will almost entirely belong to a pair of second-year players, Treylon Burks and Chigakonkwo. And he goes on to explain those. Here, they're the passing game's only hope. So Bill Barnwell says only the Texans, who don't expect to be good, Carolina, who doesn't expect to be good, and Arizona, whose quarterback is out for the season and is actively tanking, only those 3 teams have worse players at the skill positions. And that is why the Tennessee Titans are in a position to where they have to pay the ransom for DeAndre Hopkins. That is why. And so, if the Titans don't sign DeAndre Hopkins, and I have no idea how this is going to go. I see every time a report comes out, it's, he's leaning between the Titans and the Patriots, but there's nothing more there. And the reason why I think there's nothing more there is because there might not be anything to report. Now, TD said 2 weeks ago, and I think this is a big deal, that the Titans were confident that they were going to sign Hopkins. But the Titans were also confident that trading A.J. Brown wouldn't blow up in their face. And it did, and the guy who made that decision has been fired. But the reality is, if they don't sign DeAndre Hopkins, they're going to have a team with a capable defense, with players that are on the back ends of their prime, probably have 1 more year to go, in Tannehill, Henry, and Byard, as kind of the core of their group, and a coach who is determined to win. He's not going to lose on purpose. And if he does, I'll never have the same amount of respect for Mike Vrabel as I do today. And yet they did nothing to help their problem at wide receiver. And if they don't get DeAndre Hopkins, then they will have officially done nothing. Chris Moore does not count. Notice how he didn't even get mentioned in the Bill Barnwell article. I think that the one thing that scares me about this is I am worried, at least internally, that the way the Titans talk about this is the way Tim Kelly talked about it to all of you, which was, well, if you want to go see what Racey McMath is capable of, go watch the Dallas Cowboy game. To which I would say, I saw Racey McMath in the Charger game not run his route right, got Tannehill intercepted, and I saw him in the Steeler game last year fumble the football with a key turnover. So I've seen 2 bad things from McMath, and I've only seen 1 good thing. He's got 1 career first down. But I go back to them. What are they saying? When they sit around, when it's Carthon and Vrabel and Kelly and Rob Moore and all of his new assistant GMs and his analytic gurus, when they're sitting around the room, do they look at this the way that this article looks at them? Where it says, boy, if Burks and Okonkwo don't freaking pop, you have nobody to catch the ball. Do they look at it like that, or do they look at it like, well, Kyle Phillips did look good in training camp last year, even though he only caught 8 passes, and it was training camp where we don't wear pads 95% of the time. Oh, boy, Racey McMath, he really torched Caleb Farley last year. Yeah, so did everybody else. My gut tells me the Titans wouldn't have brought Hopkins in on a visit if they didn't know they had a problem, but I'm not sure they understand how dire the problem is. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is the only hope they have at this point to put together anything that can compete offensively, at least from a respect standpoint, unless everything that they hope and pray for is right. They have no chance to be able to move the football unless they get him, because they've got a good defense, we think. They've got a good coach. They've got a capable quarterback. Do they have a quarterback who's capable of beating Kansas City and Cincinnati in back-to-back weeks in the playoffs? Probably not. But they have a capable enough quarterback. They've got a running back who, again, I take umbrage with the idea that he's slowing down. I think everything around him went to crap, and that's why he didn't run like he did in 19, 20, or 21. Because he didn't have Roger Saffold and Taylor Lewan blocking for him. He had Dennis Daly trying to block for him. That's why. That different story for a different day. But I hope the Titans, I'm not saying I hope they read this, because I'm not going to take every Bill Barnwell article and just, run it right in the Titans' face and say, hey, Bill Barnwell just said, look at what Bill wrote here. I'm not going to do that. But I do hope the Titans understand, you have a problem at your skill position. Is Burks going to be a star? I hope he's going to be a star, but I don't know that. Is Chig Okonkwo going to be a star? I don't know that. Can Chig Okonkwo block in the running game? I don't know. You didn't put him out there to do it last year, and when you did, he got a holding call that wiped away a huge Derrick Henry gain in the Jacksonville game. I mean, I think everything that I hear about the Titans in the receiver position and who's going to catch, I think it's all wishful thinking. Hey, Kyle Phillips really played well in training camp. Kyle Phillips was a 5th-round rookie last year who got hurt twice, 2 different injuries, so now he's got the injury label on him, and he caught 8 passes. They could use Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry together and see what they get out of that, and see what's the last team that won a Super Bowl by throwing it to their 2 running backs? This is not the Arena Football League where a guy gets a head start in the backfield and runs through the line of scrimmage at the snap. Tajay Spears is a running back. He's not a receiver. And I don't even know, backup receiver, backup tight end. I don't. So, again, I'm not saying the Titans should subscribe to everything that Bill Barnwell says. But for the love of you-know-what, look at the room. And I am worried that when they look inside their own room, they don't think it's that bad. I think they look at it and say, oh, it's okay. I mean, yeah, it could be better for sure. But, I mean, this is good. This is fine. Fine. If we have to go into New Orleans with these guys, we're fine. And I'm like, how could you possibly think that? Only the teams that are trying to not win. Only the teams that are trying to not win have worse skill position players than you. And if the Texans didn't trade Brandon Cooks, then they might have better skill position players than you. If Arizona didn't release DeAndre Hopkins, they might have better skill position players than you. And then Carolina, I mean, they traded McCaffrey and DJ Moore. So hopefully the Titans understand this, and this is why I think they have to up the ante and pay the ransom when it comes to DeAndre. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Sometimes I feel like I hear all the talk about the receiver position and what could go right and what could, and sometimes I think everybody talks crazy. And everybody is afraid that they'll be wrong about prejudging a player but there's another element to this DeAndre Hopkins thing that is actually a good thing for the Titans. Explain what that is. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
The cup has been raised.
In their 6th National Hockey League season, the Vegas Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup.
And the offseason can officially begin. What's next for the Nashville Predators?
The Preds really haven't had a pure goal scorer. We got a lot of picks for next year.
Andrew Brunette, what about his coaching?
We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
When we talk about tenure at Cromwell Media, the owner of this station, we're not kidding around. This month, we're celebrating 6 teammates who have a combined 85 years of service to our company and our community. They are Rosemary Walters, 26 years, Cindy Marino, 21 years, Lakin King, 14 years, Ace Swartz, 13 years, and Chase McCabe, 11 years. If you'd like to experience what it's like to work for a great company, shoot us a note at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
People, this receiving group is not damn trash. You don't know what trash looks like in the receiving room. This ain't it. This is not it. You have guys that are not proven. Let's say that. Let's reword this whole trash, because if you haven't played in the NFL, you don't know what qualifies as a trash receiving room and what doesn't. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Do you think there's a trash receiving room in the NFL right now?
I don't know. I really don't know, because these guys are good enough to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me, and this is not toward anybody, I'm just saying as a whole, you can't tell me that they're not good enough to play in the NFL when they're in the NFL right now playing. Are you in the NFL playing? No. Have you ever played in the NFL? Probably not. More than likely, no, you haven't. So let's not go that far to say they're trash, okay? That's disrespecting what they're doing. They're working hard. They may not be as good as others. This is a young receiving room. Let's say that. A young, inexperienced receiving room. In this league, you need guys that are experienced. You do. You need a few guys that are experienced along with your young guys so they can kind of help one another, mesh with one another. I've always said young guys can help out the older guys. Older guys can help out the young guys. This room is not trash, okay? They brought in guys that just didn't work out. And you should have known they didn't work. They were not going to work out based upon their history and where they were in their careers.
There you go. That was Derek last week. Boy, he did not like. Someone must have texted in and said that the Titans receivers were trash, and boy, he got mad about it. And I will say this. I do think Derek takes some of that personally, having been a receiver in the NFL. I'm sure he takes some of that personally. But if the Titans' receiving room is not trash, then, like, what is? Like, what has to be so bad that it would be labeled as trash? I'm just going to tell you, if I had to look at this receiving room, I'd be like, that room outside of Burks is trash. Like, that's how I feel about it. But Derek doesn't seem to think that. Joe doesn't seem to think that. Tim Kelly doesn't seem to think that. And I'll say this. I think me and TD, and you know I have tons of respect for TD's opinion. One thing that I do feel like me and TD disagree on right now is how much we can believe in Kyle Phillips. TD thinks Kyle Phillips is going to lead the team in catches this year, and I am skeptical. A fifth-round pick, I mean, how much do you normally expect out of fifth-round picks? A fifth-round pick who played okay in training camp last year, who caught 8 passes last year, and I'm supposed to believe that he's going to be the truth? So TD buys into Phillips a little bit. Joe talked his way through the receiving room. He still thinks there's a chance for Racey McMath. There's not. Tim Kelly buys into this. Derek buys into this. And so I think, there's kind of this belief that the Titans don't necessarily need DeAndre Hopkins. I am afraid that the Titans believe that they don't need DeAndre Hopkins, that they look at him as a luxury and not a necessity, that they think, you know what, it'd be great if we got DeAndre, but if not, we've got the guys to go to war. Burks and Westbrook-Akina and Moore and McMath and Phillips and Colton Dowell, we are ready to go. In fact, I think there may be a little worry of, okay, if you get DeAndre Hopkins, what's that going to do to these other guys? We believe in these guys. We told Chris Moore that, he could help us out. We think he can help us out. What are we going to do? We're going to take passes away from Kyle Phillips. We're going to take passes away from Chris Moore. We're going to take passes away from. I'm not afraid of that. And I think Derek is the perfect example of why I'm not afraid of that. Because in the NFL, the cream always rises to the top. In 2000, the Titans acquired Carl Pickens in a very similar fashion to that of which they would be acquiring DeAndre Hopkins. And yet, Derek, who going into the Super Bowl was, I think, the 5th receiver on the Titans, who going into that season was the 5th receiver on the Titans, behind Kevin Dyson, who had been drafted in the 1st round, behind Yancey Thigpen, who had been paid a fortune, behind Carl Pickens, behind Chris Sanders. Derek Mason went from 8 catches in 1999 to becoming the all-time NFL single-season leader in yards. Ever. All-purpose yards. Starting 10 games and catching 63 passes. So the cream will always rise to the top. And I think Derek's an example of that. If McMath or Phillips or Moore or Westbrook or Dowell is that kind of player, then they will become that, just like Derek did. Even if they sign DeAndre Hopkins, just like Derek did when they signed Carl Pickens. Those guys will find a way. So I'm not worried about that at all. If those guys are good, fine. Let them prove it. But it's not going to hurt to have DeAndre Hopkins here. It's not like the Titans have a great wide receiving core and bringing in DeAndre would be one more mouth to feed that they don't necessarily. There's not. Like I look at Kansas City, for instance, and this is one place where, the expertise of Andy Reid probably comes into play. But Sky Moore, they took in the 2nd round last year. I think they have high hopes for him. Kadarius Toney, they traded for. He's still a relatively young player. He's slated to start for them. And they drafted Rashee Rice this year. I can see Andy Reid saying, I want to give those young guys a chance instead of signing DeAndre. But you can't tell me that Kadarius Toney, who was a former 1st-round pick and performed well in the Super Bowl, you can't tell me he's on the same footing as Kyle Phillips or Racey McMath. He's a better player. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Chris is up next on the Titans wide receiver room. Thank you for calling. What's up, Chris?
Hey, brother. How are you doing today?
Good.
All right, man. Look, I know we got a lot going on with the receiver room. I'm looking for DeAndre to come this way, man. I think the Titans should be far more aggressive. Like you said the other day on the show, you were talking about if it's $3 million difference, let's go get the guy. I agree. I mean, I know it's a lot of money to give up, but we got to have him, bro. We got to have him. I'm going to hang up and listen to you talk. You have a good day. God bless you, Jared.
Yep, thank you, Chris. I completely agree with the sentiment. And you guys know this. I'm not a DeAndre guy. Like, I'm not a huge fan of DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I mean, I recognize the player, and he tormented the Titans for years. And I do, respect the stat that Chad Graff put out at The Athletic that was in the 7 games that DeAndre played with Kyler Murray, DeAndre was the best receiver in the NFL last year in those 7 games. And so there's a chance DeAndre is still a dog. But there's just nobody else out there. If they do not sign DeAndre Hopkins, then I believe they will play the New Orleans Saints with Treylon Burks and Chris Moore at wide receiver. And I still think they're going to win a lot of games because Vrabel's won a lot of games with suspect wide receiver play over the years, and I do think Burks is going to – I still consider Burks the number 1 even if they sign Hopkins. But there's nobody else out there. And they did this to themselves. It's like, again, going back to Bill Barnwell's list, Carolina is 1 spot below the Titans in terms of talent around the quarterback, the skill position talent. But that's because they traded away DJ Moore to get their quarterback. They traded away Christian McCaffrey last year. And then what did they go out and do? They went out and they signed Adam Thielen. And Thielen had very similar numbers to DeAndre last year. I would prefer DeAndre to Thielen. But they signed Thielen. They signed DJ Chark, which, again, I wasn't crazy about. But I would have signed him if I were the Titans because at least he's somebody. And the Titans weren't interested in signing DJ Chark, and they drafted Jonathan Mingo in the 2nd round. So at least Carolina looked at their receiving group and said, boy, this group, they're not very good. And they went out and did something about it. But you didn't do anything. And I know why you didn't do anything, but you only have one opportunity to right that wrong, and that righting that wrong is DeAndre. You didn't do anything because you went to free agency and you didn't like what you saw. You didn't want to spend the money on a Jacoby Myers or a Juju Smith-Schuster or an Alan Lazard, and that's fine. I'm not even sure those guys would have wanted to come here. My guess is Myers probably would have been your best bet, and I'm not a huge Jacoby Myers guy. Then the draft came. I think you thought you were going to take a receiver in the draft. But then Will Levis didn't go in round 1. You thought you can get your quarterback of the future in round 2, so you bit the bullet and you did it, which then meant that you would have to do something to address the receiver position. There's only one something to do. It's DeAndre, period. Vrabel promised after the draft, hey, they're still going to let us sign guys. They're still going to let us trade for guys. We're going to open up salary cap space. We're going to go get good players. And the line he used is, you're going to trust us. You, the fans, you're going to trust us to do this. There's one guy out there, only one. I think they got to get him. And it's, again, I'm not a big DeAndre guy, but he's the only guy out there. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your phones on this, 615-737-1025. Plus, TD hinted at something, but then went out of his way to report or to say that he wasn't reporting it. But I do wonder if this could be the ace in the hole the Titans have. I'm not banking on it, but we'll see. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025 plus your phones. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local. You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now through the 4th of July, save big at Electronic Express. Celebrate with up to 40% off in every department. Don't miss a TCL 50-inch Roku TV for only $249 or a Maytag laundry pair for just $449 each. Get huge savings on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, outdoor essentials, and more. Get an HP laptop for only $199 or a Napoleon Freestyle grill for $549. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-375-2830. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-375-2830 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. That's 800-375-2830 to see if you qualify. That's 800-375-2830.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Yeah, I think they're really waiting it out, and I would imagine they have an understanding that whatever offer he could take back to them, and they would have the chance to match it. So it's almost like, yes, you're not going to the extreme right now, but do you have the wiggle room to go up to that extreme if the stuff hits the fan? And he's like, hey, I got this offer from the Patriots, giving you right of refusal.
Have you gotten that sentiment that he either has told the Titans or that he wants to tell the Titans or that he's going to say, hey, I will bring the Titans back my final offer?
No, I haven't gotten that sentiment. I'm just looking at, what is being said as far as him mulling offers. And I think that's, kind of the way I would go about doing it, So, no, I haven't gotten a direct report that that's what he's doing.
Okay, that was TD on our show last Thursday. Is there any reading between the lines that we need to do on that? Ian? TD says, I would imagine that the Titans might get right of first refusal on DeAndre so that if somebody were to jump in on the DeAndre sweepstakes and offer $18 million, right, that DeAndre would take it back to the Titans and say, I'm being offered $18 million. Are you going to match it? And the Titans would say, DeAndre, enjoy wherever the hell you're going for $18 million. Or if DeAndre comes back and says, I'm getting $13 million here, the Titans will say, fine, 13.5, Titans. But then I asked TD, is he reporting that? Has he gotten that sense at all? And TD was like, no, I'm not reporting that. I'm just saying, that that's the way I would look at it. Ian, do you think TD's trying to tell us something without telling us something?
I don't think so. I think TD would probably just come out and tell us if he knew. But
some things maybe TD knows that he's not allowed to tell people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe he's trying to hint a little bit there.
All right, let's play the cut again. And let's approach this with, do we think TD knows something that TD is not allowed to tell us? And remember, before we play the cut, TD told us the previous Thursday that the Titans were confident they're going to sign DeAndre?
Yeah, I think they're really waiting it out. And I would imagine they have an understanding that whatever offer he could take back to them and they would have the chance to match it. So it's almost like, yes, you're not going to the extreme right now, but do you have the wiggle room to go up to that extreme if the stuff hits the fan? And he's like, hey, I got this offer from the Patriots, giving you right of refusal.
Have you gotten that sentiment that he either has told the Titans or that he wants to tell the Titans or that he's going to say, hey, I will bring the Titans back my final offer?
No, I haven't gotten that sentiment. I'm just looking at, what is being said as far as him mulling offers. And I think that's, kind of the way I would go about doing it, So, no, I haven't gotten a direct report that that's what he's doing.
Said I would imagine, laid it out, and then said, well, that's just what I would do.
I don't know. That's a tough one. It's just one of those feelings where, this market kind of feels like this is the best fit for Hopkins.
I think it's the best fit.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the people around here who cover the team feel like could be the best fit when you combine everything with the chance for opportunity, a chance to win the division and make the playoffs.
The problem with that is that we don't know what he wants.
Exactly. And so when you try to combine it all with the money, you try and combine them all together, they might be like, if, as far as overall, this might be the best place. But if you're trying to weigh one more than the other, maybe the Titans is not the best place.
Texter into the text line says, Bo Brack, Arizona Cardinals reporter, predicts that DeAndre Hopkins would get 700 to 800 yards, 5 touchdowns, and play in 12 to 14 games if he played for the Titans in 2023, and that is only worth $10 million to me. Who is Bo Brack? And why do I care what Bo Brack thinks about what the Titans would get out of DeAndre Hopkins? And again, I would say that DeAndre Hopkins last year, I forget how many yards he had, but DeAndre had 64 catches.
It's like 717, something like that.
Sure. Played in 9 games last year. And he had 64 catches. And that was as good as DJ Moore, who played in 17 games. So if last year, I think Tannehill's better than Kyler. I think the Titans are better than Arizona. If in 9 games DeAndre's a 64-catch guy, if you can get him to play 12 to 14 games, I highly doubt you're going to get DeAndre to play 17 games. If you do that, then I think DeAndre's probably going to have about 900,000 yards. And I don't care about the actual, stat of, well, this is 1,000 as opposed to 800. I don't worry about that. I worry about on 3rd down and 6, when Tannehill is in the shotgun and Tajay Spears is in the game, can Ryan Tannehill say to himself, okay, I feel comfortable that they're going to blitz and that I'll be able to throw the ball in the vicinity of DeAndre Hopkins and that DeAndre Hopkins will be able to do something with it. That's what I care about. Not the, fantasy stuff. I don't care about that. Andrew says, I am convinced this year will be shockingly great like 12-5 or shockingly terrible like 5-12. And I can't figure out which it'll be. Might be a long fall. Here's what I would say about trying to predict the Titans' record. For starters, if Ryan Tannehill goes down week 1, then, they could be absolutely horrible. Knock on wood. I've also seen Tommy Maddox get hurt after starting the first game, and a rookie, Ben Roethlisberger, who they didn't think was ready to take over, and go 15-1. So I don't know, if Levis gets put in that spot. I don't think he'll be very good, but I don't know that. But, I think the Titans are playing a pretty easy schedule. They get an easy division, the NFC South. They play in an easy division, the AFC South. There is no Patrick Mahomes on the schedule. There is no Josh Allen on the schedule, so don't have to worry about that. I think the Titans have a chance to be pretty good, and I'm not even sure when it comes to the record what exactly it is that DeAndre does that makes the record better as much as it is DeAndre makes those pivotal moments offensively in games bigger. Like, I'm not looking at the Titans, so I think they're going to win 11 games. That's just me. I'm not looking at the Titans and saying if they get DeAndre, then the Titans are going to win 12 games. I don't think it's that simple. I just feel better about their chances of winning games like at New Orleans if they have a DeAndre Hopkins. Texture says Miami will pay DeAndre Hopkins before training camp. I don't know why Miami would do that. They already have receivers.
I mean, Miami's wide receivers are legit between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would want him. Texture says, I think people are getting tired of DeAndre Watch, and eventually the Titans will be, if you want to be here, come play, and if not, they will overpay you. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable that the Titans are going to overpay DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, the Titans did overpay for Julio.
They did overpay for Julio,
and
but they overpaid for Julio pretty early in the process.
Mm-hmm. And they probably overpaid for Clowney.
I mean, I think they definitely overpaid for. I thought the Clowney thing was so stupid.
But that's, those are those two, and those are our parallels to this Hopkins deal. So I don't know. Traditionally, you're right. They don't like to overpay and go berserker. But
and plus, this, there's something that's really up my ass when it comes to the Titans with this, which is, and I brought this up a little bit the other day, but the Titans are only paying 7 guys more than $4 million a year this season. Whereas they're paying 13 guys more than $4 million. Buffalo's paying 20 guys. Who are the Titans paying? Who are the Titans paying so much? I hear you all bitch about the cap all the time. Who are they paying the money to? Their left tackle's not making a lot of money. Their left guard's a rookie. Their center's not making a lot of money, although he's making more money than he should make. Their right guard's not making a lot of money. Their right tackle's on a rookie contract. Their quarterback makes below average for a quarterback, but he makes $27 million. The running back makes $10 million. They're not paying any of their wide receivers. They're not paying their tight end. They're paying a defensive lineman. I guess I would say 2. They're paying Landry. They're paying 2 defensive linemen. They're paying a safety who they don't want to pay. Where's all the money going? For all you cap people out there, how can they be so up against the cap? Who are they paying? And how can Buffalo not be in dire straits when they're paying way more for all of these things? You don't want to pay your one safety. They're paying 2 safeties.
Amani Hooker has a decent deal.
$6 million, but, again, paying. I think Dillard is $7 million in cash this year. That's not left tackle money. That is not left tackle cash. So how's the cap so screwed up? You experts, you guys, you believe in this thing. I mean, I know what the answer is. They haven't redone anybody's deal. Whereas if they were a team that was wanting to spend money, they would have redone Landry's deal. They would have redone Byard's deal. They probably would have redone another deal or extended Autry and given him more money up front. Or they probably would have done some of that. But that's just the point I'm making, is that they're not spending that much money this year, folks. And this is the opportunity to, like I said, I don't want to say, you promised, but I do feel like they promised. I really do. Oh, Texture says, dead money from Julio Jones. That's, that's it.
Too much
Dead
kicking
money.
the can. Too much kicking.
Oh, yeah, they kicked the can too much. The Saints were $70 million over the cap. Didn't stop them from signing a quarterback. But you kick the can too much. The Eagles don't kick the can enough. The Saints don't kick the can enough. Those teams don't kick the can enough. But you. By the way, the day that free agency started, you and Denver had the exact same amount of money, $25 million. They signed a guard, a tackle, and we're talking top of the market money, a guard, a tackle, and a pass rusher. You signed Andre Dillard on the discount double check price. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Resetting the topic du jour, which is Ryan Johansson ain't here anymore. And I think it's a great thing. But I also think there's another thing that I want to get into that is starting to drive me bonkers. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
going down. It's going down. It's going down. They fight.
Jared, you're
How do you know, Joe? How do you know?
And fight.
And because of that,
But how do you know that, though? But how do you know that?
But that's okay. It's Jared and Joe. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., Jared Stillman and Joe Rexroad debate the big topics in sports. Jared versus Joe. Presented by Pella Windows and Doors and Parman Tractor and Equipment on Stillman and Company. Wednesdays at 5 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Hey Tennessee, we're Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town. We listen to your feedback on our competitors, so we designed Zen Sports just the way you wished. Set favorites, search and sort bets, and earn real cash rewards, saving you time and money with every bet you make. Find the bets you want, not those distracting bets that seem too good to be true but rarely are. Best of all, withdraw your winnings in under 24 hours. So take control of your bets, because with Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes are keeping you from getting burned this summer. If you know your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down. You do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heat Wave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parman Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman, always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment, New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
Seems like everything costs more these days. Food, utilities, medical costs, you name it. But as prices go up, our family budget stays the same. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available. Start saving today at fbhp.com or visit your local Farm Bureau office.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, zero interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's like weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Just with the, I don't think a lot of us had the opportunity to get together with that on Saturday. Obviously, I'd like to thank Ryan for, his years of contribution and his involvement in the community from a standpoint of making, going on the run in 2017 to, being a real solid leader for us, and also a real contributor in the community. You're not going to find a better person than Ryan, and I just want to thank him for that. And the decision was made purely on a window that we really created at the trading deadline of going in a sort of a little bit different path, and felt that with Ryan's time remaining that he was going to miss a little bit of that window. So opportunity to allow him to further his path, and with the Colorado Avalanche, they're a good hockey team, a contender, and I'm wishing Ryan the best in his future, and I'm pretty sure that Ron will be back here in Smashville as a resident when he's done.
There you go. That was Barry Trotz earlier today on the news of the day. Ryan Johansson on Saturday traded to the Colorado Avalanche, basically given to the Colorado Avalanche, and I think it is a great move, another great move from the Trotz administration. Now, let me say this. I did not vote for the Trotz administration. Because when all those rumors were going around about are they going to bring Barry Trotz back, could he be the guy who succeeds David Poile, I kind of thought, like, does everything have to be so incestual? Like, can we go outside the organization and go find somebody who is like a good general manager candidate at Tampa Bay or at Colorado or, the places that win? Can we find like a good, or could they wait for a Kyle Dubas, who was kind of my target? Could they wait for a Kyle Dubas to become available, which he ultimately would, and then go hire him? So I didn't vote for the Barry Trotz administration. But let me say this. I like the policy. I like the executive orders. I like the taking big swings. I like John Hines did a good job, but we're going to go get somebody who can do a better job. I like the fact that, look, with Johansson, it was time. It was time. The production was what it was. It wasn't very good. He was getting up there, and he really, I watched how hard he worked, like this past offseason. Johansson, that is, and I know he put everything he had into it for this past offseason. But I think that Johansson's body was starting to give up on him. Now, I think the injury that he had was a freak injury, but I think his body was starting to give up a little bit on him. And so because of that, I just think the Predators are better off just moving on. And that $4 million in space, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe they'll take on a bad contract from somebody else and get a pick attached to it as sweetener, and that way that team can go ahead and sign somebody that they wouldn't have signed before. But as far as the relation, it was time. Now, I'm going to have to get on my soapbox here for a second. I was triggered today by something that happened on Chase and Michelle. This isn't the first time, though. The Cody Glass, Alexander Carrier talk. We got to talk about this. They're RFAs. I think the Predators are going to re-sign both, but I'm not losing sleep over it. And I don't think Barry Trotz is losing sleep over it. But I heard Chase and Nick today just talking about Cody Glass and this contract, what are they going to do? And I've heard the same thing on the midday show. Willie talking about Cody Glass. Oh, what are they going to do? And I do not care about Cody Glass. Now, Carrier sucks. And, he is at best a third-pair defenseman in the NHL. And I told you all they should have traded him after he was named to the all-rookie team because he really wasn't that good and his value was never going to be that high. And you guys, you don't know what you're talking about. But Cody Glass, he's not a difference maker, folks. And I said this to Chase. I texted it to him, and he read it on the air, but I'll just read it for you all. When I heard them talking about the Cody Glass and the money and the situation and I cannot get over how little I care about that. Because how unimportant I think it is to the future of the Predators. I said, when it came to Cody Glass, I said, no one cares about Cody Glass. Cody Glass is the perfect Bobo player, which means that the Bobos love him and they love talking about him. He's the perfect Bobo player. He's whatever, but the Bobos love him, just like Craig Smith. When it came to Craig Smith, those Bobos told us how important he was for years. Craig Smith, you go get a Craig Smith wherever. Now, when you've got a team that's really, really good, because the margin in the NHL where the salary cap is real, the margin is so small. So when you're really, really good, it does matter. The Calle Yarncroaks and the Craig Smiths because that little line, that might be the difference between you being, a champion and not. But when you're where the Predators are right now, those guys, the Colton Sissons, those guys, they don't matter. If they're here, good. If they're not, fine. You'll call some Scarbini up from Milwaukee. You'll be fine. That's what Cody Glass is. And in the previous administration and the prior way of thinking about things is we decided to care about guys that weren't that good, and we got so invested in, this guy, it doesn't matter. And that's what's happening with Cody Glass. The Bobos have been trained for so long to care about things like this. And I think it's seeped through to other people. But it doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. And he may be the Predators' number one center next year, but it doesn't matter. Because Barry Trotz, he's not worried about Cody Glass. He's worried about the guys he's going to draft this week that are going to replace Cody Glass. That's what he's worried about. That's one of the reasons why I absolutely love the Trotz administration, is everything they're doing is about developing young forwards and not developing young third-line forwards on good teams, but about developing young big boy forwards. That's what this is about. So the days of worrying about guys who don't matter that much, those need to be left with the last administration. That's a Poile thing. Trading a second-round pick for Jeremy Lauzon because you think you can coach Lauzon up, which you can't. That is a Poile thing. That is the previous administration. We don't want that. We want the good players now. And you should only care about the good players because you can get all of the complimentary players whenever you want. Like right now, just like Colorado went out and got a complimentary player in Ryan Johansson for 50 cents on the dollar. You can get these guys whenever you want them. So Cody Glass, I'm not losing sleep about it. I couldn't give two poops about Cody Glass. And in 2 years, if Cody Glass is the number one center on this team, we got problems. I mean, I love Nick with all my heart. I heard him, talking about Glass today, and he was like, hey, Vegas didn't draft him in the top 5 on accident. And I'm like, Vegas busted on the pick. And they just won the cup. So it obviously didn't matter that much. So no more, if you guys get caught up in the Cody Glass talk, you guys no Cody Glass talk on this program. That's the end of it. No more Cody Glass talk. I am banning Cody Glass talk from the Stillman and Company program unless he does something like take his skate off and try to kill somebody with it in a game. Then it's worth talking about. But as far as what are they going to do with Cody? No. Well, we got to compartmentalize the important stuff with the non-important stuff. That's like Barry. Chase asked him about those two guys. Barry was like, oh, yeah, we'll get that done. Because it's not on his docket. He's like, whatever, we'll get it done. We'll figure it out. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Normally, we do not have guests on a Monday. Adam Vingan. That's right. He'll join us next. We'll get Adam's thoughts. What does he think about the Johansson move? And what is the Trotz administration going to be able to do this week? We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. Again, we are live at Bridgestone Arena for the NHL Awards tonight, right here at Bridgestone Arena. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
The cup has been raised.
In their 6th National Hockey League season, the Vegas Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup.
And the offseason can officially begin. What's next for the Nashville Predators?
Give me 2 more top 6 guys, and I'm there.
You don't need an elite goalie to win a Stanley Cup.
What they would give up for Alex DeBrincat.
We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient
of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I used to work out like crazy, but only see minimal results. But ever since I started the PhD weight loss program last month, I've seen the weight start to fly off. I've been on it for 6 weeks now, and I'm already down 17 pounds. And those are 17 real pounds. PhD weight loss is great because they send me 85% of the food, and even when I'm traveling, like I have been the last 2 weeks, I easily take all my food with me. It's really simple. Soups, cereals, oatmeals, protein powder. It's great. I have a great coach in Rachel who's helped guide me, build the nutrition program for me, and motivate me, all while holding me accountable. And I love that there are no pills, injections, or any kind of gimmicks. It's real food, and it's a real lifestyle. And that equals real weight loss. They've got a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of the program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. Visit myphdweightloss.com to get started today. That's PhD Weight Loss, myphdweightloss.com.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The NHL draft begins on Wednesday, but incoming Nashville Predators GM Barry Trotz has already began making some roster moves. The team announced over the weekend that forward Ryan Johansson was traded to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for forward Alex Galchenyuk. Nashville will retain $4 of the $8 million salary for the next 2 years for Johansson. Trotz spoke about the move earlier today.
You're not going to find a better person than Ryan, and I just want to thank him for that. And the decision was made purely on a window that we really created at the trading deadline of going in a sort of a little bit different path, and felt that with Ryan's time remaining that he was going to miss a little bit of that window. So
the Preds also announced development camp today with the date set for July 1st through the 6th. In other NHL news, the Boston Bruins have traded forward Taylor Hall to the Chicago Blackhawks. And college baseball will crown a champion tonight in Game 3 between LSU and Florida. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock on ESPN. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And the score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios at Bridgestone Arena, where the Predators, that's right, the Predators are hosting the NHL Awards tonight. But they're already making big moves, and I am in love with this new administration, the Barry Trotz administration. As soon as Barry Trotz was announced back in the building, boom, they make the trade for Tanner Janelle, which was a big trade and will have big ramifications on Wednesday at the draft. Then they make the Matthias Ekholm trade, a trade they never would have made with the previous administration. And they get even more picks. And then, even after the coach finished on the uptick, they fired him anyways, even with a year left on his contract. The previous administration would have kept John Hines. So you know I'm in favor of that policy. They hired a coach I like. Now they ship off Ryan Johansson, which I think it was time. I think it was time for the Predators to move on. and they end up doing it, and it'll cost them $4 million. They retain salary, something that the previous administration absolutely did not like. Now we turn our attention to the draft, where the Predators hold 13 picks. And again, the way David Poile and Barry Trotz were talking about this draft, calling it one of the best of all time, means that big moves could be made. And we're already hearing about all kinds of moves around the league that could be made. Adam Vingan joins us now in the program. So, Adam, let's start so far with your interpretation of what you've seen out of the Barry Trotz administration so far, and if you think Predator fans should be as happy as I am with the moves that he's made as the general manager now.
I thought your metaphor about the peaceful transition of power at the top of your program was appropriate. It does feel like Barry Trotz is doing a lot of things that David Poile wasn't willing to do, and trying to undo the mistakes that David Poile has made. And you've mentioned a few of them already. The fact that I believe it was in 2013 that NHL teams were allowed to retain salary on trade. And it took until they traded Matthias Ekholm near the trade deadline for them to finally do that in a trade. And they did it again with Ryan Johansson. So that is a positive thing, I think, if you're a Predators fan, that Barry Trotz is willing to hold back salary if it means moving a player that may not be moved otherwise. So in the case of the Ryan Johansson trade, when I saw it on Saturday, it didn't register in my brain immediately, just because I didn't think that Barry Trotz was going to be able to pull it off. And maybe I was wrong for thinking that, because I wasn't sure that they were going to be able to trade Matthias Ekholm. And I definitely wasn't sure that they were going to be able to trade Mikael Granlund. And, the fact that they were able to trade Ryan Johansson, and look, they basically gave him away. That's what it is. But it's $4 million in cap space that you don't have to worry about anymore for the next couple of years. So I think one thing we've known about Barry Trotz is he tells it like it is. He's incredibly transparent and forthcoming about what he wants to do. And it's clear that he thinks this team, as David Poile built it, wasn't good enough on the bench in terms of the coach, and on the ice in terms of the players. So I think Barry Trotz has done a lot to build up some goodwill with Predators fans as he becomes the general manager for the first time.
What do you make of the fact that the Predators have all this cap space, and that all I ever hear when I listen to NHL radio or I read The Athletic, Pierre, for instance, today put out an article about how hard it is in a flat cap society. We've talked about this for years. We knew that the Poile administration was never going to do this, but the idea of taking on bad contracts in order to get some more draft choices, Barry loves loading up these draft choices. Do we think that we could see some more action on that front?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you saw a trade like that this afternoon. The Boston Bruins traded Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno to the Chicago Blackhawks for a couple of young players, both of whom I think are unsigned, but they needed cap space. The Bruins did to re-sign some of their players, and Taylor Hall had become a luxury they could no longer afford, and they moved on from him. So I think Barry Trotz would certainly be wise to do that, especially when you look at the free agent class, which is not particularly impressive. There aren't really any players that I personally would pony up a lot of dough to sign that are going to be free agents later this week. But if Barry Trotz wants to keep accumulating draft picks, one way of going about that is to, as you said, Jared, take on a problematic contract for a year and get an asset. I thought that's what the Predators were going to have to do to move Ryan Johansson. The fact that they retained 50% of his salary, but the fact that they were able to move him without attaching a draft pick or a prospect is a win in my book for the Predators. So, I don't know which players that come to mind for me that would fit that description that the Predators could go after. But if it means more draft capital, I'm all for it.
Adam Vingan is with us. Where are you on the Saros trade front? I think Barry is incredibly transparent. So when he says, I have to listen to everything, and he told me, right at the end of the season, or maybe when they hired Andrew Burnett, that, if we're talking about dealing the third overall pick for Saros, he might be interested. But it doesn't sound like he's interested in moving Saros. And yet at the same time, I do feel like that's the one big chip they have to play. And I wouldn't be stunned if Barry did it, if somebody knocked his socks off. What do you make of the Saros situation?
Yeah, I saw what he said in the Athletic, in the article by Pierre LeBrun that went up this morning, and when you see it, it looks like you can count out a UC Saros trade, but I'm not 100% convinced of that. I have been firmly on the trade UC Saros bandwagon, because as you said, Jared, that is their one true valuable asset that can be moved. Now, the problem is I don't know exactly what UC Saros is going to get you, just because there aren't any recent trades involving goalies of UC Saros' caliber that have been made that you can say, well, Team X traded this goalie to Team Y, and this is what they got, so this is what the Predators can expect to get for UC Saros. There is one trade that could happen that could set that price, and that is if and when the Winnipeg Jets trade Connor Hellebuck, because Hellebuck is in that same class as UC Saros. So if that were to happen sooner rather than later, maybe that provides a potential blueprint. But I took those comments from Barry Trotz in the Athletic as, I'm not planning on trading UC Saros, but if you are going to give me something that I can't refuse, then I will strongly consider trading UC Saros. I mean, Barry has been open about his desire to move into the top 4 or 5 of the draft. Now, I don't expect those teams to budge, but if one of them said, we'd really love Saros and we're willing to give you one of those picks, then I will drive UC Saros to the airport. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I have a theory about that. Adam Vingan's with us. He's going to be in for Joe on Robbie and Retro this week. I have a theory about that. Barry may be able to he's not going to get in the top 4. He may be able to get into the top 6, but he's got to get to 10 first, and then get to 7, and then get to 5. He can't go in this draft. I don't think he's got the assets to go from 15 to 5 or 15 to 6. But I think he can get from 15 to 11 to 6, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the draft. I'm looking at the draft order right now. So, teams 6 through 10 are Arizona, Philadelphia, Washington, Detroit, and St. Louis. If one, I'm not sure if any of those teams are looking for goaltending at this particular moment, but if one of them feels like they could use an upgrade at that position, or if Barry wants to, in another way, package, some of the extra draft picks he has, like the 24th pick in the first round or the multiple second or third round picks that he has, I think using that later first round pick and maybe one of those extra second or thirds can help you move up from 15 to 11 or 15 to 12. And that can make a difference in acquiring a player that you really want. So, I think if Barry were asking for my advice, which I'm sure he never would, I would not want to make 13 picks in this draft. I would try to use some of those extra picks in the second and third rounds with that first round pick at number 24 and try to move up 4 or 5 spots. I think that would maybe be a better use of the resources if they want to get an impact player.
Everybody, Adam, always wants to know ahead of time, are they going to make a big trade? And I don't even think they know the answer to that. I mean, it's like everybody goes to the doctor. Doc, am I going to be okay? And a lot of times the doctor's like, hey, we'll see. We're going to put you on this medication. We'll see. And so I think the Predators are in that we'll see purgatory right now. But Barry keeps talking about wanting to take big swings. And the one thing that I do know is that if somebody is determined to make a move, they're probably going to end up finding a way to make one. Do you expect Barry to take a big swing this week, and what could a big swing be?
I do think, I do think you'll see something like that, and it could be moving up in the draft. It might not be moving up to the top 4 or 5, but it might be moving into the top 10. And as you said, there is a lot of player movement that's expected around the league in the next several days. I would, at the right price, obviously, I would take a run at Alex DeBrincat. And I know that he's a winger and not a center, but he's in his mid-20s, so he fits the Predators' timeline in terms of the players that they want to have in their lineup. He's a proven goal scorer. He's a better goal scorer than any player you currently have on your team. And, if this team wants to accelerate that rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it, a player like DeBrincat, is capable of doing that. And with the cap space that you just acquired by moving off of Ryan Johansson, even if you have to sign DeBrincat to a Philip Forsberg type contract, let's say, you can absorb it. I mean, it's not ideal, obviously. The thing is, I wonder if Barry Trotz avoids trying to sign those long-term deals for a while. Mm-hmm. So that might take them out of the sweepstakes for a player like DeBrincat, unless he wants to take a shorter-term deal, like a 3 or a 4-year deal, and try to cash in again when he's close to 30. I mean, if he's willing to do something like that, that's more palatable to me than signing him to an 8-year deal, because, as we know, this team has gotten itself in trouble signing those long-term deals.
Adam Vingan's with us. What do you think the Johansson trade means for the future of Matt Duchene?
I think it's interesting that when Barry has been talking about his core players in the past several days, that Matt Duchene has not been mentioned in that. I'm not the first person on the station to make that point, but I did find it interesting. I think he might. I think it'll be hard to move Duchene. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that teams are only allowed to retain salary on 3 players at a time. So they have an extra slot available. They're using one on Ekholm, and now they're using one on Johansson. So they could use one on Duchene, but are teams willing to have Duchene for 3 more seasons versus Johansson's 2? The other thing, of course, is that Duchene has a modified no trade clause. It's not a big one. I think he can only list like 7 or 8 teams he doesn't want to go to, but it does make it more difficult to make a deal. So I think Duchene will stay on the team just so that the Predators have a proven top 6 forward, because outside of him and Forsberg right now, they don't really have any, unless I'm clearly missing someone. So I think Duchene sticks around, but if someone's willing to bite on it, I'd listen.
Do you think, last one for you, Adam Vingan is with us, do you think that the Predators are in a spot to where, I've got a theory on this. I think John Hines was a bad coach. And I think Johansson will probably go to Colorado and play better than he played here, just because I think guys play better when they leave John Hines. I think this entire team's going to play better. I think they went from a bad coach to a good coach. Had they gone from a bad coach to an okay coach, I think everybody would have improved a little bit. But because they're going from a bad coach to a good coach, I think we are going to see across-the-board improvements. Do you agree with me on that? And do you think that maybe that could be the one reason why they maybe shouldn't have made the Johansson move, is that maybe Burnett could have been a better coach for him than John Hines was?
Well, one thing we know about Andrew Burnett is he likes to push the pace, and one thing we also know about Ryan Johansson is he's not the fleetest of foot.
That is
now,
correct.
That's why I think that's why it's going to be interesting to see how he plays in Colorado, because that team is fast. I mean, think about how fast Nathan McKinnon is. Now he's on another stratosphere than most players in the league, but that team likes to play fast. Johansson didn't necessarily like to play fast. I think they're going to be. I do think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be, better offensively, especially. But as I just said, I look at the available players that they have right now that could play in their top 6, and it's a lot of unproven players. I mean, you'll have your Forsbergs and Duchenes, but who knows about Juuso Parssinen? Who knows about Philip Tomasino? Who knows about? I know that you just banned him on this show, but who knows about Cody Glass? Because he's probably going to play in the top 6. So they could make an addition or two to that top 6 group and make it better. But as it stands now on paper, it's pretty weak. So I do think you'll see a more entertaining product, and I think they'll be better at creating offense. But Will they be a high-scoring team? I'm not so sure, just because the talent that they have right now at forward, outside of Forsberg and Duchesne, it's not proven in terms of scoring. So, I think you will see a more entertaining team, but I'm not convinced how much better they will be based on the roster I'm looking at right now.
I think they'll be better, and I think they'll make the playoffs just because I think the coach is night and day better than the coach that they had last year. Adam Vingan, as always, joining us on the program. He'll be filling in for Joe, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around here at some point during this week as well. Adam, great stuff. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks, Jared. Appreciate it.
Yep, Adam Vingan joining us on the program. And I do think the Predators are going to make the playoffs next year. I don't think that really means anything, but I do think that they're going to make it. I just think that the coach that they had was so bad, and the coach that they now have is so good that everybody will play better because of it. 615-737-1025. I meant to ask Adam what he thought about our banning Cody Glass after he said that, but we are banning any talk about the future of Cody Glass. We can't have that on this program. 615-737-1025. I see your phones all lined up. We'll get to them next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On Everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond, just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
So, you've heard of Oil Fire Whiskey, the whiskey that women love. Smooth and seductive. What's the taste? Oatmeal cookie or caramel covered apple? You decide. You will like it. She will love it.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, this is one of the best drafts, I think, in history. I really believe that. Again, you harken back to 03 when we had the first draft here in Nashville. And if you look back at the quality of players that were taken in that draft, and including and specifically the players that we got in that draft, I mean, when I go to bed at night and say a little prayer, I'm sort of thinking the same thing. If we could, 15 and 24 for starters, if we could hit on two foundation type of players, that's a lot to ask. But we talk upstairs about, well, do you want to, if it's not quality, we'll trade out of this round or this pick, and at the moment our scouts none of that. So we feel really good. I mean, the top rounds, the top 3 rounds where we've got 2, 4, 7, 6 or 7 picks. I mean, I think we're in really good shape, and as we say, you never know whether they're going to trade out or trade up or what have you, but we got the ammunition to do it either way.
Boy, I tell you, I hope that's the case. I hope that, because I am so, I hate to break it to everybody, but over the years, some of the prospects that I always tell you, do Preds prospects on your own time. Now, this is a little different because they're in the middle of a rebuild, but I always say do it do the Preds prospects on your own time, because some of the guys that you guys get all giddy about end up not being very good, like Jimmy Vesey. I mean, I remember that whole thing about, the recruitment process, and then he chose not to sign here, and everybody got so bent out of shape about it, and the guy was never any good. He was, he's league average. And so I always say do them on your own time, because I have no idea if these guys are going to be any good, but when you get 13 picks, chances are they're going to be pretty good. And the second that you get some good players are the second that we no longer have to look at Philip Forsberg like he's better than he actually is. The second that we have to stop pretending that these guys that are on the Predators that aren't that good are actually, the Predators might actually have some good forwards at the top of the league and not just good for the Predator forwards. Texter into the text line. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Says, the Bobo players have always been a problem with this fan base. And I am telling you, I think Cody Glass is such a Bobo player. Like, if you think that he's anything more than some role player on a decent team, then you're out of your mind. Like, if you think he's a true number 1 center in the NHL, then your team stinks. Just flat out. He is an average guy at best. The Bobo players have always been a problem with this fan base. Don't fall in love with anyone. Jordan Tutu is the best Predators example. The only player the Predators have that is a building piece is Roman Josi. I like Roman Josi. Roman Josi, the guy. And I like Roman Josi, the player. I don't think John Hines used him correctly. I do think that Andrew Burnett is going to use Josi's skill set better just to push the puck up the ice, which I think is going to be nice. I do wonder about Josi, though. And what I wonder is, they're not going to be very good for a couple years. Is he still going to be Roman Josi when they get out of this? And I think we're definitely looking at this year where I think they'll make the playoffs, but they won't be a contender. I'm pretty sure we're probably looking at next year where they'll make the playoffs, but maybe not be much of a contender. And it's really hard to project out 3 years what a team is going to look like or what a guy's going to look like unless the guy's 24 years old and already really good. And Roman Josi is not 24 years old anymore. So I would keep him on the team. I see a lot of similarities, and I hope I'm right about this, between the Braves a couple years ago. The Braves are my team. And the Braves were good in 2012 and 2013. They thought they had a good team in 14, but they weren't very good. And they had a bunch of bad contracts, kind of like the Predators, and they just blew it up. And they sucked in 2015 and 16. And they were pretty bad in 2017. But when 2018 hit, they won the division. They've won the division every year. They won the World Series. They've been to the NLCS a couple of times. They're a freaking wagon. And they're a wagon again this year, and they're going to be good for like the next 8 years because of the young guys they have that are now in their primes. But there was one player that kind of made it through the whole thing, and that was Freddie Freeman. And I wonder if Roman Josi is going to be like that guy here. But I don't know if he'll still be an elite player when the team gets out of this. And Erik Karlsson, I mean, he came out and he said that he wants out of San Jose, and it wouldn't surprise me if at some point, if Yossi feels like his years are dwindling down and the team's not doing well, that Yossi might want the same thing. Texter into the text line says, the quicker we can start talking about the 2017 team, the better. I think he means the quicker we can stop talking about them. I think that's probably what he means, right?
Probably so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 2017 was what it was. And it was great, but it happened, and it's over. 615-737-1025. There is a story about Tannehill. An NFL player accuses Ryan Tannehill of something that I don't think Ryan Tannehill ever meant or even really said. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. Live at Bridgestone Arena. The NHL awards are tonight. 102.5, 106.3 the game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bills Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It can be stressful when unexpected expenses come up, but Dave can help. Dave is the banking app that could help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. No interest, late fees, or credit check. Join the millions of people who have downloaded Dave and get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. Download the Dave app right now or go to dave.com. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you an experienced superintendent, project manager, foreman, or estimator? Do you possess a unique perspective that sees problems as valuable opportunities? We are an excavations and site utilities contractor. We are actively seeking skilled superintendents, project managers, foremen, and estimators who embrace challenges with a positive mindset. If you embody this mindset, apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC, build people, move dirt.
Hey Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
And you know, did that come as a surprise to you? And you know, what have your conversations been like with John and Mike and I guess even Malik since then?
Yeah, I texted Malik right after we drafted him as well. Yeah, I wasn't informed of that beforehand, but same thing with AJ, right? The team's going to do the best thing that they think is best interest of the team, and you know, I have no problems with Malik, and you know, we're looking to add talent and guys that can help us. So, you know, we'll add him to the room and go from there.
There you go. That was Ryan Tannehill last year when they added Malik Willis. I asked the question of Ryan Tannehill about the dynamic, and I felt really guilty about this. I asked him about the dynamic between him and Malik and how that's supposed to work out when ultimately Malik's there to take his job. Remember, we're talking 18, 20 months ago. And I asked him that question, and he talked about how, you know, here's what Tannehill said. Ultimately, probably his goal is to take your job.
I mean, that's part of being in a quarterback room in the same room. You know, we're competing against each other. We're you know, watching the same tape. We're doing the same drills. I don't think it's my job to mentor him, but you know, if he learns from me along the way, then that's a great thing.
Learns from me, great. That's great. It's not my job to mentor him, but you know, if he learns, that's, you know, it's great. And it blew up. You know that. I know that. We all know that. The headline: Ryan Tannehill. It's not my job to mentor Malik Willis. I felt incredibly guilty because I asked the question and because it blew up, and I don't think that's what Tannehill said, really. I mean, it is exactly what he said, but it's not. You know, I do think that that's the one time where somebody was truly taken out of context. Patrick Peterson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't even know Peterson was on the Steelers. Patrick Peterson of the Pittsburgh Steelers hosts a podcast, and he crushed Tannehill on the podcast. According to the Sports Illustrated website that covers the Steelers, quote, Peterson wasn't a fan of Tannehill's comments. I don't know what it was. Not mentor, not give info to the younger QB, Peterson said. Man, like, we've got so much information that these guys haven't seen. Why would we want to keep that from them? Why would we want to hinder their career on maybe something that we can give them? Not to backtrack, but that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And all the headlines, Patrick Peterson slams Tannehill, and that he slammed Tannehill for those comments. And all that guilt comes back. And the reason why that guilt came back to me was because as I'm reading through this, I know Patrick Peterson didn't actually hear what Tannehill had to say. I know that Peterson didn't watch that press conference. And I'm not saying Peterson should watch the press conference or Peterson should know more about the depth of what Tannehill was actually saying. But it's an unfair narrative that came out because Ryan Tannehill just said it wasn't his job to mentor Malik Willis, which is true. Hey, you know, if he learned something along the way, that'd be great. You know, I'm glad to add him to the room, and teams got to make decisions for them. And, you know, I'm happy to see where it goes. Tannehill said all the right things about that in that press conference, said all the right things when they drafted Will Levis, and yet he's getting crushed for something that he didn't mean. And that drives me crazy. That drives me nuts that Ryan Tannehill, the kind of guy he is, the kind of player, you know, I think Ryan Tannehill is one of the more, and this is from somebody who, after that Bengals game, wanted to fire him. And if I could have gotten Aaron Rodgers, and I can't stand Aaron Rodgers, and I think he's a total kook, but if I could have gotten Aaron Rodgers, then I would have fired him. But I think Ryan Tannehill right now is one of the more disrespected players in the league. And, I mean, we can go all the way back to when he was in Miami, and Brent Grimes was a corner on the team, and his wife, who was a morning DJ, tweeted out that Tannehill sucked, and he had to deal with that. We can go back to when he got here and took the Titans to the AFC Championship game. And we can go back to even, you know, right around now. We can go back right around now. And we can look at Ryan Tannehill and we can say, you know, everybody talks about the Titans not having a chance and saying that the Titans aren't very good. And it's because they all think Tannehill stinks. That's why. He doesn't stink. Is he an elite quarterback? No. But neither 90% of the quarterbacks in this league. Dallas's quarterback's not elite. San Francisco's quarterback is not elite. I don't think Philadelphia's quarterback is elite. Nobody ever talks about that. So the rap on Tannehill, the kind of general consensus, and I think Patrick Peterson represents this around the league, is that Tannehill, and yet that one line, when people get on the media, that's what they're talking about. When people talk about the media blowing stuff up, that's what they're talking about. Now, 90% of the time, the person who accuses the media of running a bad story about them or having a negative opinion about them, or 90% of the time, that person just wants to be a victim, and they probably did what they're being accused of. John Morant is the latest example of this, where I think it was Tim McMahon at ESPN reported people in John Morant's camps think that the NBA and the media are out to get Ja. Yeah, it's the media. But in this case, the media threw Tannehill under the bus, and I didn't think it was fair. And I thought there were a lot worse things that came out of that press conference 18, 20 months ago than it's not my job to mentor him. And here's Patrick Peterson a year and a half later, still upset about Tannehill's comments. Those rub me the wrong way. To me, it's just not fair. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. DeJuan has been waiting patiently and is up next. Thank you for calling and thank you for waiting. What's up, DeJuan?
You're wrong, Jared, on this one, man. You're contradicting yourself, because would Peyton Manning or would Tom Brady make a statement like that? And I get it. Like, it's not his job, but you don't say that publicly. Like, you compete as an athlete anyway, but as the quarterback of an NFL football team, you are the leader. You're the veteran. So, yes, it is your job to mentor everybody. You're the face of the franchise, so to make a statement like that.
It's his job to lead. It's not his job to mentor. And those are two different things.
But you can't defend these players when they want to get their paycheck, and not defend them, but you can't criticize them and say, oh, they're all about self. They need players, especially like with DeAndre Hopkins and all these other players that are trying to get paid. So you can't attack them for worrying about their pockets, but then defend the quarterback for not being a leader of the team.
Well, I think every situation's different. I mean, I don't have any issue with DeAndre Hopkins wanting his money. I get it. I mean, and I appreciate it, DeJuan. I get it. I don't have any problem with DeAndre wanting his money, and we've been on Kevin Byard's side. We thought it was ridiculous that the Titans wanted Kevin Byard to take a pay cut for no real reason. I mean, I think everything is a case-by-case basis. And I go back to the Tannehill cut. Ian, if you can get that cut again. DeJuan, you're sitting there, you're arguing that you heard this and you thought Tannehill was like, it's not my job to mentor him. But listen to the cut, and you tell me if Tannehill was really, making this about him. Ultimately, probably his goal is to take your job.
I mean, that's part of being in a quarterback room in the same room. We're competing against each other. We're watching the same tape. We're doing the same drills. I don't think it's my job to mentor him, but if he learns from me along the way, then that's a great thing.
Is he wrong? No, he's just like, hey, we're all here doing our jobs, and it's not my job to mentor him. But if he learns stuff from watching me, that's great, and that's what he meant. Not, I'm going to turn my back on Malik, but that's what people made this out to be. And when you say it's his job to mentor the team, you're wrong. It's his job to lead the team. But it's not his job to mentor the team. It's not his job to mentor Will Levis. That's what the coaches are for. Now, is it great when a veteran player can mentor a younger player? Absolutely. But I think mentors in the NFL, in life, I think mentors are a lot like friends, which are, it's almost impossible to force a mentorship or force a real, true, genuine friendship. It just happens. And, I mean, I don't know Tannehill and Malik's relationship, but the idea that Tannehill just got barbecued last year for that really, to me, wasn't fair. And I don't know how you can listen to that cut and think that is, him acting like he's going to be a hindrance in Malik's way. Like that he's acting like he wasn't going to be a good teammate to Malik, or it's not his job. And I said this when it happened. I said his job is to beat the Indianapolis Colts. His job is to beat the Texans. His job is to beat the Jags. That's his job. And when we get into the season, we're not sitting there, on a Titan Monday, sitting there and saying, well, I know Tannehill threw that interception, but at least he's mentoring Malik. At least he's mentoring Will Levis. We're not doing that. So the whole thing bugs me because I do feel like Tannehill's been in the NFL for a decade. He's been a starting quarterback. He's had a lot of good, a little bad. And I think that people are always going to remember him for that and the 3-interception Cincinnati game. And I don't think that that's fair. And I don't think it totally tells the full story. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. If you want to get in, we'll get to your phone. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond, just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we slip when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including the fantastic Whitney Western Art Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
They talk sports.
Is he going to try and move somebody like Duchesne? Is he going to try and move somebody like Johansson?
I think that Traylon Burks looks very confident out there.
They talk life.
I'm being nice. Chill out.
I threw the empty cup into the garbage can.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Oh, yeah, we're ready.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
People, this receiving group is not damn trash. You don't know what trash looks like in the receiving room. This ain't it. This is not it. You have guys that are not proven. Let's say that. Let's reword this whole trash, because if you haven't played in the NFL, you don't know what qualifies as a trash receiving room and what doesn't. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Do you think there's a trash receiving room in the NFL right now?
I don't know. I really don't know, because these guys are good enough to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me, and this is not toward anybody, I'm just saying as a whole, you can't tell me that they're not good enough to play in the NFL when they're in the NFL right now playing. Are you in the NFL playing? No. Have you ever played in the NFL? Probably not. More than likely, no, you haven't. So let's not go that far to say they're trash, okay? That's disrespecting what they're doing. They're working hard. They may not be as good as others. This is a young receiving room. Let's say that. A young, inexperienced receiving room. In this league, you need guys that are experienced. You do. You need a few guys that are experienced along with your young guys so they can kind of help one another, mesh with one another. I've always said young guys can help out the older guys can help out the young guys. This room is not trash, okay? They brought in guys that just didn't work out. And you should have known they didn't work. They were not going to work out based upon their history and where they were in their careers.
There you go. A texter into the text line says, Jared, please stop playing the Derek Mason clip about the wide receiver room. Such delusion is absolutely mind-numbing. D-Mace taking the trash comment way too personally. I wonder if this texter, who, by the way, just texted in and said, you are wild, with a bunch of laughing emojis as we played that cut coming back. We played that cut last hour. So I guess guy stuck around with us. But I don't think that Derek's delusional. I do think that Derek, I don't think it's so much that he's taking it personal as much as I think Derek empathizes with the current wide receivers that are on the team. That being said, the one thing I do wonder is, to be completely honest with you, I got, if they're not trash, I don't know what is. Texter into the text line says, Jared, you were wrong for making Malik feel bad when you said he sucks because of one bad game. I didn't know that hurt Malik's feelings. I apologize if that's the case, but that was, in fact, the truth. This is what I said last year at training camp. And people lost their minds about it. I said that Malik Willis sucks right now. That's what I said in August. And people went crazy. And I even said at the time, when I say he sucks right now, that doesn't mean that he sucks forever. That means that for right now, he's not very good. Now, we'll see what Will Levis looks like when they put the pads on. And I've said this. Bill Polian said last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever it was that when he was with the Bills with Marv Levy and with the Colts with Tony Dungy and with all of those, that they had a rule that was nobody gets evaluated until the first preseason game. And I'm going to hold to that when it comes to Will Levis. And so I believe nobody gets evaluated until the first preseason game. Then if Levis sucks, then we'll say he sucks. But last year, Malik Willis had no business being on the football field. And I first guessed that. I didn't second guess that. I saw it in training camp, and I said, okay, you got to get in. Minnesota looked at their quarterbacks, didn't like it, went out, got Nick Mullins. I said, you've got to go get Nate Sudfeld. You've got to go get one of these Scarbini backups to sit behind Tannehill so Malik doesn't have to get on the field. They were the arrogant ones that were, oh, no, he's our backup. And next thing you know, he's starting on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs, and I'm sitting there at Twin Peaks with Derek Mason, and my head is in my hands because I can't believe it. And, I was stunned that the game actually went to overtime. I thought they were going to get blown out with Malik at quarterback. But if they had a better quarterback, probably would have won that game. Texter in the text line said, did Vrabel or could Vrabel do more to defend Tannehill with the mentor comments? Like Tannehill was correct, his job is to put us in position to win games. It's the coach's job to mentor and develop players. Vrabel did defend Tannehill, so I don't think there's any bone to pick there. I think Vrabel came out and said, I heard what he said, and I agree with it. And that's right, because that's not Tannehill's job. Tannehill's job is to win. Justin says, if you listen to the clip Tannehill's, again, this is going back to last year, if you listen to the clip, you can hear Tannehill and what he is saying. If you just read the headline and you don't listen to him say what he said, it sounds worse. It is more difficult to convey feelings and emotions in text or email, and I truly want Tannehill to have a successful year and for him to shake off some of the stigmas and labels that surround him. This is the one instance. I can't think of another one, and I've been doing this now here for, I think, 8 years. I think this will be our 8th football season, or we've had 8 football seasons. We had a Wisenhunt year, we had 2 Malarkey years, and we've had 4 Vrabel years. I think that's right. So this will be our 9th football season. Hold on. 4, 2, 6, 7, 8th football season. And when this becomes our 8th football season, I don't think there's ever been a time where somebody said something and I watched it blow up and I'm like, that totally got taken out of context. I mean, the only time I can think that ever really happened here was me being the one taking it out of context, which I don't think I took it out of context. I think Craig Smith got his feelings hurt. And that was when Craig Smith, during the 2019 Dallas playoff series, talked about how frustrated he was about the power play and said they keep doing the same things over and over again and they're still frustrated. And I was like, well, calling out the coaches. And Craig Smith threw a freaking fit over that. I mean, I think he did call out the coaches. But outside of that, I can't even remember any out-of-context thing more than the Tannehill thing, and that made national headlines. And, again, here's Patrick Peterson. He's a Hall of Fame corner. And he's sitting here just crushing Tannehill over, I don't want to be like that. And I'm like, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. I don't think that that's fair. Texture says, I hate to say it, but from what I've seen of Malik Willis, he needs a lot more help than Ryan Tannehill's because dude stinks. I think there's probably something to that. Texter into the text line said, the support of Malik without any solid football-related reasons to support him is unbelievable to me, and it makes no sense at all. I mean, I didn't see, I went to a couple of the OTAs this year, and then I went on vacation. And so I didn't see the mandatory minicamp, and I didn't see the last OTAs because I was out of town both weeks for those. So I cannot tell you what happened there or what didn't happen. What I can tell you is that it sounds like Malik's playing pretty well. And I don't take that as a guarantee that Malik is going to even make the team. I think the third quarterback rule helps him. I think that he has the deck stacked against him. I think he will walk into training camp with Will Levis, not as the backup that day, but kind of in their minds, knowing that they want Will Levis to be the backup quarterback, and he's going to have to overcome that. And we'll see when the pads and the pass rush and he might get hit in these preseason games. We'll see. But, I mean, Malik did look better and look more comfortable. Texture says Malik's looked good so far and in camps, and he will be better than Will Levis. I need to see that to believe it. I don't have to make that decision today. I don't know why people would think I have to make that decision today. But nobody, Bill Polian said, nobody gets evaluated until the first preseason game. And I will say that for these quarterbacks. We will not evaluate these quarterbacks until the first preseason game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. We are live from Bridgestone Arena where the NHL awards are going on. And so this is a big week for the Predators. I've never cared that much about the NHL draft because it's kind of like the baseball draft. These guys get drafted, and then it takes forever to figure out, if they're any good or not. And it's like, oh, well, he's going to spend 3 years in Germany first, and then he's going to come over here and play. Or, oh, he's going to stay with the Halifax Mooseheads, and then he'll come over and things like that. So, the NHL, it's kind of like the baseball draft, but at least like the baseball draft for the most part. There's a lot of college kids, and we've watched them in college baseball, so we maybe care from that angle of it. But it's not like the NBA or the NFL where it's like, this guy's going to be starting next year. And I say that because this is a massive week for the Predators with all the picks that they have. They got 13. And I've never cared this much about an NHL draft. I think a lot of that is because the Predators have never been, since I've been on the radio, the Predators have never been all in on rebuilding. And also because the draft's here. But coming up next, Barry Trotz has already shown to me that he's going to do the most important thing no matter how uncomfortable it may be. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The Titans offseason program has come to an end. What other roster tweaks can GM Ran Carthon and head coach Mike Vrabel make before training camp?
Not just taking a guy to fill a need. We want to get the right people. We'll continue to kind of look through where we're at. Talking Titans.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
When Smashville wants to rock. We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
WORK Work News Radio.
Next up, incidents of pressing all the elevator buttons unexpectedly spike on Bring Your Kid to Work Day. But first, the latest on a team lunch that wasn't ordered through Easy Cater.
I'm in the break room where lunch that was previously announced on the way has now been downgraded to hopefully soon.
Fingers crossed, Michelle. Fingers crossed.
Newsflash, it's hard when the food is late, but at Easy Cater, we make hard easy. With food for work delivered on time and is ordered from over 100,000 restaurants. Order 24/7 at easycater.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The NHL draft begins on Wednesday, but incoming Nashville Predators GM Barry Trotz has already began making some roster moves. The team announced over the weekend that forward Ryan Johansson was traded to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for forward Alex Galchenyuk. Nashville will retain $4 of the $8 million salary for the next 2 years for Johansson. Trotz spoke about the move earlier today.
You're not going to find a better person than Ryan, and I just want to thank him for that. And the decision was made purely on a window that we really created at the trading deadline of going in a sort of a little bit different path, and felt that with Ryan's time remaining that he was going to miss a little bit of that window. So
the Preds also announced development camp today with the date set for July 1st through the 6th. In other NHL news, the Boston Bruins have traded forward Taylor Hall to the Chicago Blackhawks. And college baseball will crown a champion tonight in Game 3 between LSU and Florida. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock on ESPN. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt. I think he's got a coach up by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, Bridgestone Arena, where the NHL awards are going down tonight. It is serious up in here. Everybody that's been walking around is either wearing a security shirt or is in like a full suit and tie. Except for Bill Wickett of the Predators. I saw him just walk by wearing a polo. I asked him where his suit's at, since everybody else walking around here. I mean, it looks like they've got the Secret Service out here, with all the earpieces in and big suits and sunglasses on inside. And they brought the dog, came up and sniffing in here. I mean, this is a big deal. This tonight, the NHL Awards. Tomorrow is the 25th anniversary kickoff for the Nashville Predators' 25th anniversary season. And then Wednesday is the draft. And that's a big day around here, 13 picks for the Predators. Now, Barry Trotz made the move on Saturday to trade Ryan Johansson. And while it doesn't look like a big move in terms of what the Predators got back in return, nothing, and the fact that they were willing to eat $4 million of the salary, it may not seem like a big transformational deal to you. But it is to me. And I'm going to tell you why it's a big deal to me. Because in order for the Predators to get out of this mess they're in and the mess they've been in the last couple of years, they have to address it head on. They tried the last 3 years to deny reality. When we got to the middle of the 2021 season, maybe right around Valentine's Day, maybe a little bit after Valentine's Day, I remember it was that COVID year with that Fakakta division, and you would play 2 games at home and then 2 games on the road, and you'd play these 2-game series, and they played Columbus on a Thursday night, and they got smoked, and they sucked. And that was the moment where it was like, this isn't going to work. And I told you all at that point in time that if I owned the team, I would be making the decision at the end of the year to move on from David Poile, that it was time. But the Predators weren't going to do that. Herb Fritch is more loyal than I am. The Predators weren't going to can David Poile. And the team turned it around at the end of the year. And I argued with Adam Vingan, and I argued with Joe Rexrode, and I argued with everybody who had reversed course on their takes to move on from the general manager. Well, they made the playoffs, but it's denying reality. Then in 2022, the competitive rebuild season, the Predators told us, we think we can compete. Then they fell apart at the end of the season, and they did not compete in a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Colorado Avalanche, and the building was dead. That was when I knew the fans had given up hope on that group too. But not Poile and not Hines. And so when Barry Trotz walks into this job and just says, we're blowing it up, and they trade Tanner Jeannot, and they trade Matthias Ekholm, and they trade Mikhail Granlund, and how they got a second-round pick from Pittsburgh for Mikhail Granlund, and that money is beyond ridiculous. And they should give an award to Barry Trotz and David Poile tonight at the awards for getting Pittsburgh to take Mikhail Granlund. But the fact that they made the moves that I know the Predators in the past would not have made, that's a big deal. The fact that John Hines probably coached his way out of trouble in the second half of the season. That if the Predators had kept John Hines, people would have said, hey, this team, they blew it up, and this team fought, and they stayed together, and John Hines, they can carry this momentum into next year. And that's what would have happened, in my opinion, in the previous administration. But not with Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz said, hey, great job. It's nice knowing you. And goes out and gets a better coach. And then the Johansson thing. We've been doing this for years, where we've been talking about Ryan Johansson, and we've been talking about the moves that they've made and about the hiring of the coach. And when they fired Peter Laviolette, I asked David Poile, is the issue the coach, or is it the fact that the players who are not young guys anymore, aren't the hungry young guys on contract? They've all gotten paid. Yossi got paid. Ellis got paid. Johansson got paid. Subban got paid and had been traded. Duchesne got paid. They all got paid. Was it that those players were fat and happy? Or was it the coach? And David Poile said, well, I hope it's not that, and if it is, I will get those guys out of here. But I never thought when they fired Laviolette that the coach necessarily was the problem. I'm not sure Peter would have coached his way out of that. I don't know. I think he deserved the opportunity to do so, but I don't know. But I do believe that was the problem, that core group of guys, that they were all roughly my age. I don't even know how old Johansson is. I'm going to guess he's 30, right? Like I'm 33. And so when that moment came and they went on that run in 17 and they were really good in 18, then they all got paid. That was the hottest ticket in town, was the Predators in 17 and 18. They were superstars in this city. And this is a great city to be a superstar in. And I just felt like the team, the core group of players, got too fat and happy. That's why when Philip Forsberg had to play for a contract, Philip Forsberg played better than he's ever played before. And it's just, the Predators over the years, I never felt were willing to look in the mirror and admit the truth. And now I think Barry Trotz is doing it not just here and there, but he's doing it every day. He is not afraid to kind of point in the direction of the mistakes that David Poile made. Now, he's not going to stand up there at the podium and say, yeah, that was a really bad decision to extend Mikhail Granlund after the 2021 season, but thank God we traded him. He's not going to say that, but it's the truth. I mean, listen to Gord Stellick, who's a former general manager in Toronto, who's on NHL radio on SiriusXM. Listen to him talk about pretty much what Barry's saying without saying it.
I know basically Barry Trotz isn't saying to his old boss, David Poile, contract sucked, but that's kind of what he's saying. Ryan Johansson, David Poile did not sign a lot of bad contracts. I mean, David was pretty astute in that regard. He didn't make a lot of trades. Then he kind of made a bit of a flurry in that, but he generally was pretty good about contracts. And this was one that, like I said, Barry Trotz, just the message there that, okay, if we're going to pay $8 million, we got to get more back than we're getting from Ryan Johansson. So we're going to move on right now, even though we're going to take a hit of $4 million the next 2 seasons. But again, the goaltending thing just adds to that kind of, if there's any kind of validity to it as well.
By the way, do you think, Ian, did you think that Gord kind of walked that back with, David hasn't signed a lot of bad contracts?
He tried there a little bit.
I think, because he knows he's
they've been buddies before.
These contracts suck. Contracts do suck. That's why you're in the situation you're in. Because Johansson's contract sucked. Because Duchesne's contract sucked. Because at the end, PK Subban's contract sucked. Because that's why you are where you are. Ryan Ellis's contract sucked. If they had traded Hal Gill, you don't know what you're talking about. I begged him in 2018. Trade Ryan Ellis. Don't extend him. Hal Gill, you don't know. I'm telling you. They could have gotten prospects and picks, and those guys would be contributing at the NHL level now. But they didn't. And that's what Barry is dealing with now. And so it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. First, Barry has to right the wrongs, which the Johansson move, I think, is an example of. Then Barry's got to get in the young players into the system. Then Barry's got to develop the young players into the system. They're not all going to come up at the same time. It's going to be over a couple-year period, and that couple-year period is a couple years away. And I don't know Wednesday night if Barry's going to knock it out of the park with these 13 draft picks. I don't know if he's going to trade up into the top 6 and take the Russian kid before Philadelphia at 7 or Washington at 8, and they get this Russian kid who's a total mystery, and he comes in here and he's the next Ovechkin. I don't know. That is ultimately how he'll be judged. But what I've seen so far, I like. Because all the mistakes that the Predators have made over the years, whether or not they were the right decision at the time, and some of them were, most of them weren't. But Barry has had to fix all of them. The Ryan Johansson contract, not a good contract. The waiting constantly on Johansson to, Johansson and Duchesne. If we can get Johansson and Duchesne, if we can get them going, we're done with that. It's over. 2019, they hired John Hines. They kept lowering the bar when it came to John Hines. Got to give him credit. He barely made the playoffs last year. Got to give him credit. He barely missed the playoffs this year. Barry's like, that's great. Take a hike. So I like the direction with which they're going. And I am willing to deal with the lean years that may come this year and next year, however long it might be. I still think they're going to make the playoffs next year because I think this coach is that much better than last year's coach. But I'm willing to accept the lean years if you are too, because this has been what I've been asking for forever. It's so funny. I listen to these people that David Poile makes these moves, and they get on me. The Bobo media writers that cover this team, the fake media people. And it's like they get worked on a Forsberg deal. Oh, Jared Stillman, he doesn't know what we're talking about. Or they love Carrier. Oh, Jared Stillman, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy, he doesn't this. Then they turn around, they hire Barry Trotz. Barry undoes all the things that I said were bad. And it's like, oh, these are great moves now too. Everything's a great move. No. I've been saying for years those were bad moves, which is why I love these moves so much, because it is such a philosophical. There you go. It's such a philosophical shift amongst this organization that so badly needed it. And so Barry's on the right path, and I'm loving every second of it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your phones on this, 615-737-1025. Plus, I know it's easy to say today, but I need you all to agree with me right now that you are going to feel the same way today as you should feel in the future. I am making that pledge right now. I'll explain what that is. We'll do it next. Stillman and Company. Live from Bridgestone Arena, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The cup has been raised.
In their 6th National Hockey League season, the Vegas Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup.
And the offseason can officially begin. What's next for the Nashville Predators?
With the Predators, it's 1-for-1. Get those veterans to buy in. UC Saros, could the Predators trade him?
We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whatever your destination in life, you can get there easier with a checking account from F&M Bank. At F&M, our checking accounts give you the tools you need to manage your money well, like our smart free checking account that's actually free. Because sometimes the basics are more than enough, making lives better by making banking easier. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond, just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamond, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
This year, come out for a little outdoor fun at Land Between the Lakes, only an hour and a half northwest of Nashville. They have over 170,000 acres of forest and wetlands on a peninsula in western Kentucky and Tennessee. Hiking, camping, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, outdoor learning, you name it. Land Between the Lakes is where you want to be.
Get up close and personal with wildlife at the Woodlands Nature Station. Take a scenic drive through the elk and bison prairie. Visit the 1850s home place working farm and see what life was like over 170 years ago.
Plan your adventure at landbetweenthelakes.us.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Washed and waxed?
Check.
Gassed up?
Got it.
What about that check engine light?
That,
You know you gotta treat your car right.
I know.
Then you should know about the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. Head on over to AutoZone, get your engine light checked, and get a report for free. Don't even take a minute.
Free AutoZone Fix Finder service.
Your car will thank you, and then you can thank me.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's okay to have a bad year. Like right now in the phase that you're in, if you have a bad year, I know everybody wants to make the playoffs, and and it's important, and there's a business side of this too. But okay, well, if you have a bad year and you get assets back, and you believe that you have a difference-making goaltender in Askarov for many years and a less of a cap hit and all that, you can make the case.
Well, and this fan base is in a totally different spot right now than it was this time back in January. You've made changes. You've brought in a new head coach. You brought in a new general manager. And by the way, this whole offseason, they've told you that you need to be patient. Like they've kind of set the foundation of, hey, this could be a minute before you get back to being competitive. So like this idea that, and I said this a couple weeks ago, like everybody's got to stop worrying about next year's team when it comes to the UC Saros conversation. To me, it has nothing to do with next year. I'm not even considering next year when I think about the future of UC Saros. To me, you got to make a decision on, do you want to give him a contract or not? That's what the decision is. Right. It has nothing to do with next year.
That was Robbie and Joe earlier today, and in case you missed it, Barry Trotz told Pierre Lebrun, who I believe is here, by the way, at Bridgestone Arena. Barry Trotz said when talking about Saros, I've talked to Saros. Listen, I've got to listen on everyone. What I have to do is improve our hockey team, so I have to listen to everything. My goal is to keep your game changers, your Saroses, your Yossi's, and your Forsbergs. You know those are game changers. Every team wants to keep 3 or 4 guys to build around them. So it doesn't sound like they're interested in trading UC Saros. But then again, the Titans told me that they didn't foresee trading A.J. Brown, and then they turned around and traded him. So who knows? But one thing that I am okay with, I think that this may be a lean year upcoming. I still think they'll make the playoffs because half the teams in the league make the playoffs, and most of the teams that don't make the playoffs are trying to not make the playoffs. And I don't think the Predators are going to try to not make the playoffs, and I think the Predators are going to have a good goalie, and I think the Predators have a good coach. So I think they're going to end up making the playoffs, and that'll be fine. They have no chance, in my opinion, of competing in the playoffs next year. And I'm okay with that. I am a season ticket holder, and I am still buying my tickets, and I will buy my tickets next year, and I will buy my tickets the year after that, and I am not expecting any playoff series wins over the next 2 years. Then after that, I mean, we want to see the progress. But I'm not expecting it. And if I get it, good. And if I don't, I'll still be supporting the team. And I hope most fans are okay with that. Because that's what this team needs. This team needs the restart. You know, I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. And I will tell you that the first 20 years of my life, the first 15 years of my life, the Atlanta Braves made the playoffs every year. In fact, when I got my driver's license, and I was 16, was my sophomore year of high school. The Braves had won their 14th straight division title, and that week they played the Houston Astros in the division series. So I was used to winning every year. Then the Braves fell off a little, then they came up, then they fell off, then they came up. Then they had a couple of good years, maybe World Series contenders in 2012 and 2013. Lost in the division series both years, but they looked the part of a contender. They went for it in 2014, and it didn't work, and they blew it up. They traded everybody. It was basically a fire sale. And in every trade, they got back like 3 prospects. And very few of those prospects actually made it and were on the 21 World Series team. But they were bad in 15, they were bad in 16, and they were bad-ish in 17. But then in 2018, when those young players all started to pop, the Braves made the playoffs, and you could see hope was on the horizon. And now, the Braves are the same wagon that they were in the 90s when I was a kid. They've won the division 5 years in a row. They're probably going to win it again this year. They've got all these good young players. They maybe have the best player in baseball. I think that there's a chance that the Braves are going to have an all-star in right field, an all-star in center field, an all-star at first base, an all-star at second base, an all-star at third base, maybe an all-star at shortstop, and an all-star catcher. They're not going anywhere. This team has made the playoffs 6 years in a row, but, won the division. They're going to win the division this year. They're probably going to be good again next year, be good after that. So were the 3 bad years worth it? And as a fan, yes. And those teams were putrid. They were horrible to watch. But it was worth it. The 3 years of bad, the last 6 years I've had as a fan, including a World Series in 21, it's worth it. That's what the Predators are about to go through. And again, I think it's probably going to be, I don't think they're ever going to be bad, but I do think that, they're not going to be competing to win a cup. And I'm fine with it. They make the playoffs, they go to 6 games, they get some of these young guys in there. And not all these young guys are going to work out. They got 13 picks in this draft. And I guarantee between the 2 first-round picks and the couple second-round picks and some of those guys are going to bust out of here. And we're going to be like, what happened to Calvin Pickard, who they took in the first round the year they drafted Roman Josi in the second round? What happened? I mean, what happened to that guy we drafted him 15th? He was supposed to be. It's okay. For every 10 prospects you get, two might stick in any given year. And that's okay. Even the young guys they have right now, whether it's Parsonen, Tomasino, Novak, Evangelista, Kimmel, all those guys, the young guys, the guys that actually have potential, and not this blowing smoke up your rear end, Alex Carrier could be good stuff, but like the real young guys, not all those guys are going to make it. And that's okay. What they do, and you heard Barry say, you build around the Soroses, the Yossis, and the Forsbergs. Take those three guys. Everybody else is going to be in and out. And then let's say that Juuso Parsonen, who had a good year last year, let's say he, is 2 times better than he was last year because now he got the experience under his belt, and he's older, and he's a little bit stronger, and he's a little bit, let's just say that. Juuso Parsonen. Well, then he makes it. Now he's the 4th guy. Then that Reed Schaefer that they love, that they traded Matthias Ekholm for, he's the 5th guy. That's what they need. And so I'm okay with it. I am invested in the Predators, even through the bad. I am willing to invest in this team. Now, does that mean that I'm going to watch them every night? I mean, it is kind of my job to watch them every night. But does it mean that I'm going to be able to sit there every night and flip it on and watch Calgary kick their faces in? Probably not. And it'll make the day-to-day talk a lot less. There will not be a desire to hear in November talk about, the Predators have won 2 of their last 5, and they're this, and there's not going to be and it's okay. Because when they see this thing through and the team gets good again, all of the hype will be back, and it will be justified. You won't have to talk yourself into something that is baloney. It'll be a solid team with a solid core, just like the Braves have right now. All these guys they have are in their mid-20s. They're going to be good for a long time, and I'm cool with that. And I'm not convinced the Predators are going to exactly be the exact same, but I already like the start Barry Trotz is off to. They just rolled through all the trophies on 2 of those flat dollies that you would see at Costco. They just rolled by all the trophies. The NHL has some seriously obnoxious trophies. Some really big trophies. Whereas the other sports, it's like a little, you just hold it up hey, thank you to all my fans. This is like a freaking, they're big trophies. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Keith in Bowling Green says, let's see how willing Trotz will be to cut his losses on his own decisions. I'm with you on Carrier, but I am not going to be happy about any lean year. That is lowering the bar. No, Keith, I don't think it's lowering the bar. I think it's having reasonable expectations. That it's okay. It's okay if the team's not good this year. It's okay. Because the worst thing in the world is what it's been the last couple of years, which is you make it into the playoffs, you know you're not going to beat any of these teams, and you get smoked in 4 games, and back you go. And as a ticket holder, those are the games that really piss me off. Because now I have to pay more for the playoff tickets when I know they're not going to win. I don't want to do that. When I'm buying playoff tickets, I want them to win. It's the one thing we said. We said this at the beginning of last season. Boy, people got mad when I did this. We said this at the beginning of last season. We want to win. We don't want to almost win. And for too long, the Predators have been always cool about almost winning. No more. But you're going to have to lose probably before you can get to winning. And if they don't lose, great. If they're good, let's say Andrew Burnett is as good of a coach as I think he's going to be, and let's say that, the Predators get the best out of some of the guys they have. They've got a great goalie. They're competitive-ish. They go to 6 games next year in the first round. Or, hell, they get hot in that playoff series and win it. Good. But I am accepting of the step back. 615-737-1025. If you want to weigh in, I see your phone, so we'll go to them next. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, live from Bridgestone Arena, the NHL Awards, 1025-1063, the game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3. The Game.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we were awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new-to-you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
Bend Park. That's where my summer happens.
It's where my family's come for generations for great times.
It's where amusement rides and water park slides are just my size.
It's where my friends and I have a blast on the big thrill rides. It's where we can do all the attractions and not spend time in long lines.
It's where you can have unlimited thrills with a 2023 season pass for just $74.99. A pass pays for itself in 2 visits and comes with 2 anytime bring a friend free tickets, discounts, and more. Visit beachbend.com.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the huge Callaway Trade-In Trade-Up event happening now through June 30th. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive 2 times your trade-in value towards any new Paradigm, Apex, Big Bertha, Great Big Bertha, and Reva family of clubs. This huge Trade-In Trade-Up event is happening now through June 30th. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, serving golfers since 1968.
Join Moving Forward and the Nashville Scene Tuesday, July 11th from 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening at Meharry Medical College for a mayoral forum to kick off early voting. Hear Nashville mayoral candidates' plans for improving the rising transportation issues in Nashville, Davidson County. Visit MovingForwardMIDTN.com today. That's MovingForwardMIDTN.com to register for free.
Hey Nashville, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Barry, after the draft obviously comes free agency. How do you look at that pool? Some people say it's a little thinner this year. Does that make it more likely that maybe you would make another trade or 2 along the way?
Well, yeah, it's probably not as deep as probably some of the other years, but I think we're just looking for, keeping discipline in our window for the most part. We're looking for cultural pieces. We're looking for more short-term people that can help us win, but at the same time, leaving enough room for when our young guys are ready that we can, I think the league is going, we talk about the NHL is a winning league, but you still have to have a couple pieces, every team does, of a younger player, and you sort of have to develop them on the fly. They might not be fully developed, so you might have to finish that development a little bit in the NHL. So I want to be flexible and not get tied up into long-term contracts for the number of young players that we have. So I've been very transparent with the agents and the players on that.
Barry Trotz says, we're going to take it kind of easy. And that's why Adam Vingan came on earlier today and said that he thinks the Predators should be players for Alex DeBrincat. I'm like, nah, Barry's not there yet. And, hey, at least he tells you that on the front end. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go right to your phones. George has been waiting patiently. He's going to kick us off here this hour. Thank you for calling. What's up, George?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good.
I was happy to see Vegas win the Stanley Cup. But, man, it kicked me in the stomach because we tried and tried and tried and tried and did everything, and we come up with a goose egg every year to make it hard to root for somebody like that. And I tell you what, it's not only the Predators, it's the Titans, it's the balls. All of it just seem like they don't want it, man. They try, but look, the president of the Vegas said a long time ago, give me 5 years and I'll have a Stanley Cup. 5 years, he got a Stanley Cup. We have done nothing. I don't see any hunger out of any of these ball clubs around me.
Okay, so, I think any team that hasn't won, it's easy to say, and I appreciate your passion, George. I think it's easy to say whenever the team hasn't won that, we never win the big one. And as an Atlanta Braves fan, I felt that for 25 years. They won the World Series in 95. And, I had heartbreak in 96, heartbreak in 97, heartbreak in 98, lost the World Series in 99, heartbreak in 2002. And finally, even 2020, they screwed up. They had a 3-1 lead on the Dodgers, and they lost in the NLCS, and the Dodgers went on to win the World Series. Then the Braves won the World Series, so now it's like I can't say, well, they never win, because they did. But I think that just comes with anybody who doesn't win. It's like it happens over time. I will say this about Vegas. Vegas was willing to go places that the previous administration, the Poyle administration, was not willing to go. Vegas fired their coach every opportunity they had to fire him. And they had good coaches. Gerard Gallant, good coach. Peter DeBoer, good coach. Fired both of them. Bruce Cassidy. I begged after that Colorado series to fire John Hines and hire Bruce Cassidy. They didn't do it. Now, Barry looks like he's willing to go these places. But Vegas is willing to take big swings. They took a big swing going for Jack Eichel, and it worked out. And in the Poyle era, the last couple of years, the bold moves have been stupid. Like a first-round pick for Ryan Hartman. That's stupid. And those are the things that they have been doing. So I'm glad that those things are done. But they didn't have the certain, the cojones that Vegas had. And it does feel like maybe Barry Trotz is bringing some of that in here. The way it was just hoping and praying that things would get better. And I'm glad those days are behind us. Dylan is up next on Barry Trotz. Thank you for calling. What's up, Dylan?
How's it going, Jared? Love the show since I started listening in 2016.
Right on.
So my whole thoughts towards everyone's freaking out that, we've got rid of our core and, we're selling off. And
is everybody freaking out? Who's freaking out?
It's a lot of people on a Predators Facebook page I'm on. Just, I think so at least. But basically where I'm getting at is I feel like, David Poyle didn't, like you were saying, the expression didn't want to smell the coffee and just move on. And I think Barry has definitely embraced that. And I think he probably has gotten more of that since he's gotten to play, coach players like Alexander Ovechkin to a Stanley Cup. So I think, we've got a different Barry since we had Barry back, in 98.
No, this is an offensive Barry Trotz. He doesn't care. He trades Matthias Ekholm, ends up picking up a winger. He's trying to trade up into the top of the draft. Thank you for your call, Dylan. He's trying to trade up into the top of the draft in order to get a center. He's talking about, I don't want to deal the goalie, but, I might. It's because he wants a big boy forward. And this team's never had a big boy forward. And he's willing to go do it. Now, take anything that you read or see or hear on Facebook with a humongous grain of salt. I remember the morning after the 2016 election, I went to Jersey Mike's, and I was standing in line, and I heard one woman say to the other woman in front of me, she was like, well, I read on Facebook, and I was like, uh-oh. I don't know where this is going. But so take anything you see on Facebook with a huge grain of salt. Is the overall tenor of the feelings towards the Johansson move, are they negative? I think this is unequivocally a great decision for the Predators. Am I wrong on that? That people that it's not I want to say unanimous because nothing in life is unanimous anymore, but is it not an 80% positive decision that they traded Ryan Johansson? I say all this. I like Ryan Johansson. Go ahead, Ian.
Feels like most of the fans are on board with it. I think they realized it was something they kind of needed to do. There had been talks about the buyout situation with him, and they were able to, avoid that.
I would have bought him out.
And so you don't get anything in return, but you still, get to shed $4 extra million of salary cap space that they get to use on something. I guess maybe once they do something with the money, people will get a better feel for it, if it was worth it or not.
Well, somebody texted me the other day and said, they were like, I know he wasn't our best player, but we could have gotten a pick for him. I'm like, no. They're like, what do you mean you could have got? I'm like, you can't get a pick for him. You can't. This was all you could get, and that's what they got, which is nothing. And that's okay. I like nothing. Barry Trotz walks by. Nothing. And good. That I thought it was a good move. Facebook might say it's a bad move. Who knows? Wesley's up next on the Predators. Thank you for calling. What's up, Wesley?
Hey, Jared, thanks. First of all, I agree with most of what you say most of the time. Today, I agree 100% with 100% of what you're saying. I think that on the Johansson thing, great trade. Love the guy. Hate to see him go, but he's going to probably play better there. We're going to get some space to get some new talent, be it from the farm or whatever else. But back to the waiting a little while, the thing I really think is it's better to lose and having had a plan than it is to lose having had no plan at all.
Thank you.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Amen.
So I'm totally content as a through and through Preds fan to sit back, have some lean years. I'm good. Let me watch the kids develop. I'm good with that. I don't have to win a cup every year. I would much rather see them do it right the times they can than all this faffing about, trying to hodgepodge things together and half mediocre it.
Well, and to your point, and I appreciate your call, Wesley, I remember when Willie and Darren would sit there and say, when the fans were saying, rebuild, tear it down, move on, do that. And it was like, they kept saying, well, are you going to still show up to the games if the team is not good? And it was almost like, and I love him, but it was almost like a kind of a finger wag, right? Like eat your vegetables now, suck it up with this loser coach because he can at least get you to the playoffs, and that's better than not getting to the playoffs. And will you guys come? You say tear it down now. Will you come? If this team tears it down, will you? And this is what I would say. Some people, yes, they will come. Regardless, they could be the worst team in the league, and they would come. Reality is, no, you're not going to have the same building with a team that is a cup contender that you're going to have with a team that's not very good. But at the same time, last year the team wasn't very good, and there were still a lot of people in the building sometimes. Sometimes there weren't. So you were already heading that direction, even though you were trying not to embrace that. But guess what? The second you get good again, all those people will be back. And I defended the Predators when they raised their ticket prices in 2018. And I said on this program, because people were pissed. People were furious. They felt blindsided. And I said, look, it is NashvillePredators.com. It's not NashvillePredators.org. So it's a business. And so when they got really good and they were the hottest ticket in town, they raised their prices. I understand it. It's called capitalism. But when you're not good, you're going to have to put up with the fact that tickets aren't going to be so hot. It is what it is. But I agree with the caller. Embrace the stink. The problem is that your team, with your goalie, your team's not going to be, so bad that you can truly embrace tanking. You're not going to be that bad. You're not going to get the second pick in next year's draft. None of that's going to be the case. Plus, with this coach, I think a team that was right there on the cusp of making the playoffs this past year, I think this coach probably puts them over the top a little bit. Maddie says, I take 3 cheek years for a Stanley Cup. You can't guarantee a cup. It's impossible to sit there and say, well, we'll do all of this for a cup. Glenn says, we've been lean since COVID. Truth. Mike's up next. Thank you for calling. What's up, Mike?
I just have to agree with you and the previous caller. If you go back to 2016, the team was in the dumps. You could buy tickets for next to nothing. They was toward the bottom of the standings, but they had a plan. And next thing you know, they made the Cup final. Plan turned around. I stuck with the team. I was at every game. As long as the team has a plan, whether if it's rebuild, retool, or go for the Stanley Cup, let's go for it. You've got to have a plan. Plain and simple. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I mean, look, that doesn't mean that the plan's going to work. You know, I mean, Barry was just walking by here. He might be the most popular guy in the building today. If he doesn't draft well on Wednesday night, it doesn't matter. But I do like the plan and the direction they're going. Trey says, I know everybody is low on the team right now, but I have a feeling deep in my gut after seeing what was happening at the end of the season that there may be something special about these kids. And I don't think the Predators are going to be as bad as long as everybody thinks. That comes from Trey. I didn't see anything special. Ian, did you see anything special? Is it wrong for me to say that special
You mean
might
from
be
the
stretching
kid,
it?
from the kids down the stretch there?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the guys flashed probably more than we expected. I mean, Evangelista, I think, showed some flashes. Tomasino showed some flashes. Novak definitely had a little bit longer of a consistent streak than we probably anticipated. Can they do it for the whole season? And is it like next level talent? Not so sure about that yet. It's probably going to take another season to really see how that goes.
How many of those young guys do you think are top 6 players in the NHL? Like legitimate, not on next year's team will be a top 6 player, but that for
could
their
be.
career, right?
I think Evangelista could be a top 6 guy.
Parsonen
could be a top 6 guy. I don't know if he'll be a top line guy, but I don't see any top line guys. I see lots of second liners, with the youngsters, which is good because you need a legit second line in today's NHL and you need scorers. But do I see like top level number 1 forward yet? Not yet. But, that's Duchesne and that's Forsberg. I'm not sure any of the young guys have flashed that much yet. But that's a lot to ask.
I was actually thinking about doing this today. We may do it tomorrow. Like the most invaluable young players in the organization. This is going to sound crazy. I think that Barry values Joakim Kemmel at Milwaukee. I think he may value them more than any guy that we saw last year. That's just my gut feel, just off some of the interviews that I've heard Barry give. And I don't think Kemmel will be with the team next year. But that future-wise, I think he thinks he may be a top-line goal scorer. And to your point, these guys, second, third line, that's great. But you've been having second, third line guys your whole life. Now it's time to go get the big boys. 615-737-1025. The NHL awards are tonight. I have my feelings about these awards. I have my feelings about awards in general. And I have my feeling about this idea of these sports award shows. We'll hit them next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The FedEx St. Jude Championship returns to TPC Southwind, August 9th through the 13th. Don't miss your chance to witness the top 70 players from the PGA Tour season battle it out in the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Only 50 players will make it through Memphis. Don't miss your chance to watch the drama unfold. Daily grounds and upgraded ticket options are on sale now at FedExChampionship.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
AM radio provides always-on news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports. And it's also a vital service that provides important emergency information when your community needs it most. Tell Congress you need AM radio to stay in your car. Because when cell phones and the internet are down, this free emergency service is critical. And when you don't have electricity, radio in the car is often your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 6 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. Planning to propose? Get that stunning designer engagement ring starting as low as $67 a month. Or a 3-carat lab-grown center diamond, just $99 a month. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Bon appetit. Take some Titans.
Play fake, Tannehill.
Some Preds.
Stop by Sarah.
Even some hoops.
Water shot is good.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Jason Michelle.
Yeah, of course.
See it if you're watching on the stream.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Very kind of along those lines, how meaningful is this week, not only with the changing of the guard, but I mean, you're bringing in a new coach and you have the 13 and draft here. Just how meaningful and pivotal for this franchise is this time?
Well, I think it is pivotal for all of us because of the assets and the way the table's been set by David. So, you look at that. It's a great. I mean, the whole world is looking. I mean, we have players from all over the world. The game is growing down south. You look at all the players from the south that are getting drafted. I mean, we've got all these rinks. When I came here, we had Centennial. We had one rink. And now you look around, we've got the Ford Ice Centers, and you look at it, all these non-traditional markets are destination places for players to play. They're viable markets, but they've had to go through some struggles. We had to go through some more struggles than some of the recent expansion teams because the rules were different. And we survived, and we're hoping to be one of those franchises that is a destination, a place where we want to win and a place where we want to live.
There you go. That was Barry Trotz earlier today. The NHL Awards are tonight at Bridgestone Arena. They've opened up the concourse. I've seen the trophies. I've seen the suits. I've seen, the people with earpieces, everything for the NHL Awards. And before I say this, I am not crapping on the NHL Awards. I want everybody to know that. In fact, Ian, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm starting to feel a little FOMO because I'm not staying for the NHL Awards tonight.
I figured.
I don't think.
I mean, honestly, this feels like right up your alley. All the big wigs and schmoozing and all that kind of stuff.
Like wearing the suit, walking the red carpet, even though I don't belong on the red carpet, taking pictures.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And here's why. For starters, I'm going to be here all day and all night Wednesday, all day and all night Thursday for the draft, which I am very excited about. But there's something about these sports awards that, it's one thing with the Grammys, and I don't really watch any of the award shows like the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys. I don't watch any of those, really, because I'm not sure I really care. But, at least at the Grammys, they can have, Eminem and Elton John on stage together. Here, it's just sports players in tuxedos. But, you're not going to see Connor McDavid get out there and, rip a one-timer. It's just these guys are sitting there and they're clapping. And not only that, the Grammys, because I think Fitz either votes on the Grammys or used to vote on the Grammys. They are not allowed to say anything about their Grammy votes until the Grammys. Well, with this, it's like we know who's going to win every award. Like, right now, I'm going to tell you, Linus Olmark, going to win the Vezina Trophy. Connor McDavid, going to win the Hart Trophy. Patrice Bergeron, going to win the Selke. Like, we know who are going to win those awards. But I am starting to have a little FOMO that I'm not going tonight. And it was a conscious choice made by me to not go. But it's like now that I'm here and I'm starting to see all the suits and the gowns and the dresses and the everything, like I'm starting to think that I wish I was going to stay and go. I'm a little bummed out. But I do wish, like in sports in general, that the media who covers it, who votes on these awards, didn't tell everybody who they were voting for ahead of time, because everybody knows who's going to win all the major awards. It's like the MVP of the NFL. I don't even understand why we bet on that thing after week 8. You know who's going to win it. When they get to the NFL, has there ever been a moment where they've opened up the envelope and they've been like, and the winner of the MVP award for the NFL season is Ryan Tannehill? And it's like, oh my God, how did that happen? No. It's like everybody knows because all the people that vote on it say this is who should be MVP. So that's just kind of my one knock of the sports media, letting the cat out of the bag a little too much so that we know who's going to win these awards. And while I expect there to be some super cool things because it's Nashville and because the Predators take a lot of pride in that, which I do appreciate, I just don't know like what a sports award show can do. Whereas like, the Emmys, well, even the Emmys are kind of boring. The Grammys can have Eminem and Elton John together.
The concerts for the Grammys could be worth it sometimes.
Right. Like, it's like, you'll have Alicia Keys and she'll, it's the next level thing. Now, there are supposedly going to be some big shows tonight, so that is exciting, I guess, which people should be well aware of. I can't believe I'm about to say that this is going to be a big deal, but it's absolutely going to be a big deal. Ian told me Kevin Byard is going on Bussin' with the Boys tomorrow and talks about his contract situation. What do we think, Kevin Byard? Do we think it's going to be juicy what Kevin Byard tells Bussin' with the Boys?
No.
I think it might be juicy. So we will probably cover that if it's juicy. And if it's not, then we will yell and scream about that as well. That's it for us. We're out of here. If you're going to the NHL Awards, enjoy tonight. If you're coming for the draft, be excited. Tomorrow's the 25th anniversary party. We'll be right here at Bridgestone Arena. Meanwhile, ESPN Radio.